Good afternoon and welcome back to the SMITE Pro League. One down. Pittsburgh Knights go ahead and end their set, and we move forward to the next one. But first, let me remind you about the Pirate Queens. It's all about the booty here, and you can absolutely grab them at home. Skins for Chang'e, Artemis, Neith, Serket out on the battlefield right this moment. And we have a second game, but before the teams take their battlefield, I'm bringing out the big guns. Joining me today is going to be Joachim, otherwise known as Zeros. I'm not going to touch the last name. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I thought I was playing today, but they didn't want me anymore, so I guess I'm here now.
Different team, baby.
Yeah.
Same old SMITE game. As you said, previously playing for Pittsburgh Knights. You've been around the scene for a while. You've been playing for a number of years.
Yeah, that is true. I played for a lot of different teams, but as I said, time for something new, I guess.
There it is. Bring the Dink Master to the stage. Once upon a time, you were here at Worlds. Now for the regular season, as we ramp things up, SK Gaming will be taking the stage against one of the top teams here, Team Rival. A lot of different things going on here. Rival has largely been kind of successful off of the back of their leadership, and SK is a weird team to read. What can you say about SK Gaming playing up, down? What kind of SK do you expect to see today?
I mean, they do come out of a strong win against Dignitas last week. They 3-0 Dignitas, and Dignitas is a top team, so if they can ride that momentum, I think they could probably do really well against Rival today as well. But at the end of the day, I just don't see them beating Rival, but we'll see.
It's a tall task. I think if they do find victory, a lot of it's going to have to do with NeilMah. The support player has a lot of the instincts. When you watch him play, he gets a lot of the basics, and like I said, the instincts. He finds himself in the right spot, and he'll set up his teammates. What do you expect? Do you want to see the oddball stuff like the Serket and Fenrir, or do you want to see more traditional stuff against Rival today?
I think you can compare NeilMah a lot to Aurora, I think he's definitely an early game support, and I think he should stick to that. I feel like if he can get a good momentum in the early game, he can run the game, so I want to see him do that.
Sort of a launch pad for everybody else on the block. Sam and Paul kind of can stand up on their own. Zapman and Belair. And I focus on Belair there, on that solo side. He's been very inconsistent, and that solo lane's important.
Yeah, that's true. As you said, like, you have some games where it really pops off, and then you have some games where it's kind of invisible and you don't see him as much. So like, he's against fineokay now as well, right? Which is probably the best solo laner in the league. So yeah. It's gonna be interesting to see.
Have you identified, because that's been a big part of what I've been trying to figure out of SK Gaming, and again, if not, that's totally fine, because I think this has been the nut to crack here. Belair, what makes him have a good game and what makes him have a bad game?
It's hard to say, because like, you see him on set, like probably one of the top solo picks right now. And some games he does really well, and then some games he doesn't do a lot. So I think it's so hard to tell, because I feel like, I don't know if it's the god or like if it's the mood he's in when he goes into the games, or I really don't know what to expect. It could be anything.
It's wild, man. Across the way, Team Rival, one of the stronger teams. You mentioned fineokay being up on top. He's got the mustache. That could be the game changer. But Mike right here, look at him. He's gonna put on the sleeve. Yeah. This is a big part of what allows Rival to be uncompressed. Is the compression sleeve here. Big PolarBearMike getting ready for the game. We got a chance to speak to him earlier as well. Here's what he had to say.
Getting first seed is pretty important. Obviously, going into any tournament, I've always been of the mindset that in order to win the entire thing, you have to not care who you play against. You have to be able to beat everybody, obviously, because you can run up against any team. But that being said, you still want the easiest bracket possible. I think first seed has a pretty big advantage, because not only do you get to play someone who came from the placement rounds, which in theory should be a weaker team, you also will get to see them play kind of like a mini tournament leading up to that. So it helps your preparation, kind of just can help you ease into the tournament. So I think it should be an advantage on paper. That being said, I was in the same spot last year and we ended up losing to Trifecta. So, you know, it can go either way. I think I'd still want the easier bracket, but obviously understand that, you know, it's not an auto win by any means. Mentally, we're in an okay spot. I think that we're trying to figure out how we want to play compared to the rest of the league. I think that we have a few things that we still do that make us kind of unique, and trying to iron out all of those details and figuring that out is good. It's a little disappointing to have lost both of our sets versus Renegade and Splice, but I felt like we were in a position to win not only multiple games within those sets that we didn't, but also to win the set in general. So even though we lost, I feel like it was still an encouraging and productive result for us. I think the biggest thing about SK is that we know they're not afraid. They'll make a lot of aggressive plays. I think Zap has always been like that in his career, and I think Sam does a really nice job of kind of dictating how they want to play the early to mid game. I think Sam has been playing really well all season, even though the results don't really, come through for them as consistently as they like. So definitely a team that we're preparing for as hard as we would any other team, and I just think trying to identify like what they're maybe a little bit weaker at and then trying to exploit that is the obvious goal.
That shot of Fino always gets me. Cool man on the end. But PolarBearMike, absolutely cool, calm and collected core of this team. If you talk to anybody on Rival, they always bring up Mike and what he's able to do there. Yeah. He shares the lane with a strong man, though. Arkkyl, one of the stronger points here for Rival. He's got a very traditional kind of playstyle. Yeah. Only really plays the hunters, and he's going up against Zapman, who's willing to play anything.
Exactly. That's kind of interesting because I think Arkkyl is one of the only ADCs still, or like hunter, long lane, whatever you want to call it these days, that still plays the hunters, so almost every game. And Zapman, he's one of the ones that started playing mages, right? So that's one of my favorite matchups today, I think, to watch.
How do you expect it to go? Does the hunter have the advantage? Does the mage have the advantage? Or is it player versus player?
I mean, both. It's a lot player versus player because it's like a high skill matchup. But like, it's some of the mages beat some of the hunters, but then like you have some hunters like Ullr, for example, who almost beats every single mage in the lane. So like, and that's something Arkkyl likes to play as well. So we'll see. Like, whoever has a good day today, it's gonna be really interesting. Yeah.
Game number 1: picks and bans, P's and B's. Pretty please. SK Gaming on the first side. We'll see where they look, and Rival will be answering. Earlier today, Aggro said that second selection is a detriment. It's a disadvantage compared to first selection right now in the current meta because of how many powerful picks there are. Yeah. Do you agree?
I don't really know. It has definitely been like that, but now there's new goals. I know Amaterasu, for example, is probably a really strong pick now. Yeah. I haven't seen him that much in NXT yet, so I can't really talk too much about it, but yeah, for sure. Like on first pick, you'd always get something good, right? But then on second pick, I think if, say, you let some of the powerful picks go through, then you can get maybe 2 strong picks, while enemy team first pick team only get 1. So I think it depends.
And the answer back could almost even be a counter.
Exactly. That's one big thing on the second pick as well, because you get the counter pick before the second ban phase, and you also get the last counter pick in the end of the draft. So yeah.
Rival banning out 2 mages, the Persephone and the Ullr. Persephone very new, Ullr not as new, but tried and true. That Sanctified Field changes the way you play your team fights. Amaterasu and Thor banned away by SK as they are still on the clock. These last 2 bans, what do you expect or want to see?
I'm not sure here, to be honest. It could be the Tough ban. I've seen a lot of things, like he's so good in laning phase. Zapman loves to play tough, so Rival might look to take that away. For SK, I don't really know. It might be a pressure pick for PolarBearMike, the Hercules, the Fenrir.
Hercules is a nice ban here, I think. PolarBearMike has been kind of taking a lot of pages. I don't know if PBM takes a page out of Aurora's book or Aurora takes pages out of their book. I think they're just writing the same book next to each other.
To be fair, I think Aurora is the OG Hercules support, no matter what anyone says. So
I'll give that to you. Absolutely, you won't hear an argument on this side of the table.
The ISIS ban.
And the set ban.
Yeah.
So these are, I think, our 6. Get used to them.
Yeah.
You should see a lot of this ban. What does this leave on the table for first pick?
I think Jorm is always such a solid pick. You can flex into mid.
Okay.
Only I can, I guess, but yeah. It's just such a strong soul laner, has very few bad matchups, and like just so good in team fights. Anhur as well. Yeah. Probably one of the top mid laners right now, so why would you not?
Anhur, one of the top mid laners, he demands your attention on the entrances to the lane, which is kind of a deeper thing than we usually get onto on the analyst desk. But those entryways into the lane, you're getting pillar impaled at worst, and at best, you're getting pillared and just slowed down.
Exactly. It's just he has so much kill pressure. That's like how he gets his pressure mid, because his wave clear is not that great compared to some of the other. But it's just one CC from your jungler or support. You get the Anhur ultimate on top of that. It's like almost a guaranteed kill. So. And
he's safe, like you said. Anhur ultimate, low cooldown, CC immunity.
Yeah.
You can put him mid lanes. Jungle, even.
I guess, yeah.
Hey, you played with Kenneth. Athena and Hou-Yi will wind up here for Rival, and interesting selections as well.
Sure.
Hou-Yi, not a god that we see often at all, and Athena, when we do see her, less prioritized.
I really like this because the Athena can be flexed in 3 roles pretty much. Jungle, solo, support. Hou-Yi can be flexed from mid, ADC, so they can kind of go wherever they want with this draft. I really like the first 2 picks from Rival.
SK Gaming, on the other hand, playing for my heart, Fenrir and Osiris here. And this is absolutely, like I said, SK Gaming. Something I say often is player identity. Not all teams are built the same. Not all teams should have the same strategy because you're good at different things.
Yeah.
I think this Fenrir is going to go to NeilMah.
Yeah, for sure. There's no doubt about it. I think such a strong early game from SK already. Like if this is Fenrir support, one of the strongest level 1 characters in the game. Osiris, one of the strongest level 1 characters in the game. Anhur as well. So yeah.
Scary stuff. Rival offer the Khepri as advice. Khepri might be able to save some of the options there, as SK have, like you said, a ton of kill potential. Khepri might be able to offer some reprieve.
Really like this Khepri pick. As I said earlier, Anhur gets so much pressure mid because of his kill pressure. Khepri can deny that with his ultimate, right? Also, you can cleanse the Fenrir out with the Khepri out. Also a big thing here.
That's gigantic. Across the way, Rival paying attention both to the previous set and the characters they have. Thanatos being banned out. Obviously, the interaction with the Execute gets through Khepri Ultimate, which would have been a big deal. SK Gaming's jungler has a great Thanatos and a lot of reasons for this ban. SK Gaming banning King Arthur.
There's the Tough, as we talked about earlier.
Just strong characters right now being banned out.
Yeah.
Arthur still one of the premier solo laners in the game, I'd say.
For sure. There's no character I hate dealing with more when I was playing mid. You're level 12 and then a level 18 or 16 or whatever it is. Arthur comes in, he blinks on you, and like, what do you do at that point?
Just keep walking? You beat?
I mean, you can try, but probably won't help you.
The Jormungandr ban will round out our ban phase. So Team Rival right now, as you said, a little bit of ambiguity. Vamana will come through. Still doesn't tell us if that's going to be Twig or Fino. Athena and Vamana have been played by both of these players in both of our phases, honestly.
I would expect the Athena jungle here, I think. If PolarBearMike starts blink on Khepri and Athena starts blink as well, they have so much beat force on this Anhur mid.
Yeah.
I think they're really going to look to abuse that.
Poseidon here for SK Gaming. Could go a number of different ways, and the last pick will be the Susano, and I think Susano confirmed in the jungle.
Yeah. Outside
of that, Osiris probably short side, and so Poseidon for Zapman? Is that what you think?
I think so. I think Poseidon in dual lane is on the rise, because if you think about it, he is one of the strongest one-on-one characters in the game. He's so good at one-on-oneing, and that's what you do in dual lane now, right? He's also really good when he's farmed. If he's higher level than the tanks that try to dive him, he has no problem one-on-oneing anyone pretty much. So I think it's Poseidon ADC for sure. Yeah,
you've got the Whirlpool to prevent anybody from really going away, and it is a combination as old as time, Zeros, but Fenrir, Poseidon, what do you do?
It's a lot of setup and a lot of damage. But as I said, the Khepri can prevent all that kind of single target setup, so it's a big counter pick, the Khepri.
Team Rival finish their draft off with a Medusa, so 2 carries, kind of going back to last month here.
Yeah.
Raw power. Forget about the teams on top. Looking at these 2 drafts, who do you think has the stronger composition?
I mean, Rival does lack some magical damage for sure, but they're one of the only teams in the league that does play Double Hunter, and I feel like whenever they do, I don't even know if they've ever lost with Double Hunter. I'm pretty sure they almost won always with Double Hunter, so I think I prefer Rival here for sure.
SK Gaming have a very single target focused situation. The kills will open up into bigger opportunities. This is absolutely, you want to hear me saying stuff after the stuff, this is that comp that you're looking at. Kill a guy and then go to a Gold Fury, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like, so much objective damage on both teams as well. You have the Poseidon, higher objective damage than an actual hunter, so and then you have double hunters on Rival, so both teams, whoever gets some picks here can just go to fire, go to Gold Fury, whatever, and just blow it up in seconds. So
earlier in the matchup, we were talking specifically about that solo lane, right? Belair has been a player that's been up and down and up and down. Never really know where he's going to be. Rival, on the other hand, fineokay. He has solidified himself as one of the go-to guys. This matchup, do you think Belair is in a position to do well versus what Fino's going to bring?
First of all, we don't really know what fineokay is gonna play. I would expect it is the Vamana, and I think Osiris should win that early game. But I think as soon as Vamana gets like his boots, he can kind of like just avoid Osiris in lane and just farm and proxy and like rotate to team fights. But if Belair can get a lead from the early laning phase, then hopefully he can pop off.
Yeah, it's one of those like coin flips, because we discussed that before, where Belair is this enigma. I have sat in that green room for months going, what makes Scary D tick? What is it that allows this guy to succeed or fail? I was having the same conversation last year when he was on Trifecta. Yeah. It was at LAN, he'd look great, then the next week he'd look trash, and then the next week he'd look fantastic again. Yeah. I don't know what it is that makes this guy work. I asked you, you don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either, so yeah, I don't know either. I mean, I remember when I was coaching NED Season 3 Worlds, and he played against Demi, and he absolutely destroyed that set, even though they lost, like, amazing performance.
Right.
But then it's been up and down since, so.
It really has, and I always go back to that one. And it's funny because as we sit here, you know, yourself a player, coach, me and Adelaide, we've watched these players develop, and you can generally go, oh, well, Zapman succeeds when he's allowed to play aggressive. He's learned to play passively, but he's allowed to play aggressive. That's when he does well. Yeah. You know, same thing to be said about, you know, across the way, pick a character. PolarBearMike. PolarBearMike succeeds when he has players around him that he can set up.
Arkkyl as well is one of the momentum plays. If he gets off in the early game, he can just carry the game all by himself. So
Arkkyl, Zapman, we were talking about earlier. Arkkyl, I think high key is one of the stronger carry players in the league.
For sure. On Hunters.
Yes. And so when you ask him to kind of switch that up, that gets a little bit leery. But as you pointed out, Rival, they don't need to ask him to play anything different.
Exactly. They just play double Hunter anyway, so who cares?
That's what's fun right now, is that I think the teams play what you're good at. It's that simple. You don't have to copy and paste what the other guys do. That said, what is the dominant strategy right now?
As you said, it's from team to team. Some teams are really good at some things. Rivals really good at playing like with a lot of pressure and double Hunter. So, I mean, it depends from team to team. But like for me personally, I think double Hunter, like not double Hunter, it could be one medical Hunter and one physical Hunter. But I think double Hunter with like strong early game picks around it is what I like the most. But it could be anything for any team, really.
Sounds good. I think I agree there. Real quick, one word. Who wins this one?
Rival. Because of the Khepri pick. He's going to deny what SK want to do, I think so.
I think I got to agree. That Khepri pick, it's everything SK don't want to see. But at the same time, you can't ban it out in the front. SK Gaming could potentially take the game over Rival. It's all about execution. Rival of the tools. Can SK turn it around and make it look bad for Rival? That is the goal of SK. I think it's in the ball's in their court to kind of make things happen.
Yeah.
We're going to get into the game in just a little bit. Had some things going on behind the scenes, but in front of the scenes, turning it around right now. So before we go in, one last question about the mid lane here. Looking at it, how do you expect the matchup to go?
Thing is, for mid lane, I don't think it matters too much what kind of gods is kind of your 3-on-3 that you fight in anyway. But in the 3-on-3, I expect it to be Medusa, Khepri, Athena. I don't know. I have to give it to SK, I think. I think they're going to get the kills. I think Khepri could save them, but I think definitely for SK is going to have the advantage in the early game.
They've got to come in like a wrecking ball.
Yeah.
If SK does not come in all juiced up, I just don't think they're going to come out the way they want to. Rival and SK, though, a strong matchup to be sure. We're going to jump into game in just a matter of moments. These two teams chomping at the bit, talking to SK beforehand. They just want to get out there and bring it to them. SK Gaming, Team Rival, game number 1.
Nothing wrong with a little bit of Miley Cyrus here on a Thursday. It's Finch and Aggro as we move into SK versus Team Rival. And glad to see my boy Zero's doing well up there on the desk as well. Nice job, my man. And now we move into this next game. It is going to be CaptainTwig on this Athena in the jungle. And like Zero's alluded to, there is going to be a need for magic damage here. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's a little bit more bruisery than tank on this Athena.
And no blessing start for him. Sam for Soccer going a little bit more traditional. Susano needs a lot of help in the early game to get those buffs cleared. We just watched Adapting go full Boots rush. Not the case here, but still no blessing for CaptainTwig. Boots 2, but he's on the left side of the map.
PolarBearMike has to fall back quite a bit. NeilMah not afraid to be aggressive on this Fenrir. And Zeros is talking to me a bit about this start, man. I mean, especially if it's Ninja Tabi that you go, you're really only waiting for an additional 50 gold. A lot of assassins that can use that attack speed well in the early game to bully that support out. I think I'm down, man, for this start on certain gods that don't need the sustain or don't need that much extra health clearing. as PBM trying to do his best to start this speed buff up, but is really just trying to stop Neil. I feel like he's on defense more than offense.
I mean, there's a trade that Neil's going to win in outright damage, but Mike's job. So we talked so much about all this meta. The support's job is not to get kills, or not even to secure the buffs. It's just to delay and harass. Neil is playing jungle too, so Mike's job is to annoy and harass, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's keeping this buff safe for CaptainTwig, who bought Boots 2, went back to base, bought Assassin's Blessing right away. I mean, it gets a little bit of pressure over in the long lane. It kept CaptainTwig away from the problems of NeilMah. This is still kind of odd to me.
It is odd, and I'm hard to imagine that Neil successfully kind of keeping two people busy isn't still a fairly decent trade here for this Fenrir. Right now, I mean, look where Sam for Soccer is. He's kind of had free reign around this map so far as PBM
Mike's dead.
Now quite low, in some trouble. Is getting a little bit of help there
he's
from the passive, but it's not going to be enough for the actual kill. Somehow, PBM survives.
Just a little bit too late from NeilMah on that horrific emblem. He was right to trust his instincts that he had kill damage there, but just didn't pop the horrific emblem early enough. As soon as PBM used that abduct to help Twig secure backs, if Neil pops horrific, he gets that kill. But don't get it too messed up though, because even if Neil gets that kill, Mike has done his job in that instance. His jungler has stayed safe. PandaCat's been able to get a ton of solo farm in mid. He's got a lead over there right now. This is an odd start that both teams are probably saying that they're okay with. NeilMah the only one who's a bit behind.
And Neil also not going that Guardian's Blessing start. The aggressive Fenrir, who can obviously do quite well even without building directly into damage, and should be able to finish the boots. We've sometimes seen afterwards going back and still getting the Guardian's Blessing a bit later. It's just about having the boots, which you need more here early, especially if you're going to be on essentially zero farm in the early game. But NeilMah in some trouble. PandaCat, the one that finds the kill. That's first blood for Rival.
It's all set up by PolarBearMike on that Khepri. We talk about Khepri as this defensive guardian that saves you all the time. Abduct is one of the best CCs in the entire game, especially against frontliners. There's nothing they can do when they're getting abducted, and NeilMah falls victim to it right there.
He does indeed do that Guardian's Blessing, though, on the back. Probably not much he could have spent that gold on. That would have been better in that slot. And now is when he's going to be starting to stack that one anyway. So it really doesn't hurt too much, I'd say, for Neil to end up taking that spill there, but obviously not ideal for SK Gaming as Rival. The slight favorites here at the start of this game in terms of how the farm has gone, but I would say the significant favorites here in the match in terms of who's expected to win.
I mean, they're the top seed in the SPL, and if they win here today, they are locked to that number. That being said, they are heavy favorites, regardless of the outcome of today's game, to lock up that #1 overall seed. SK Gaming kind of battling this game means a lot for them as well, but certainly an uphill battle if they make it to Worlds.
CaptainTwig in some trouble, does make it back to the Tier 2 tower. PolarBearMike back to the Tier 2 tower as well, so safe. But SK Gaming have already done the job they came here to do as they tried to be aggressive around that blue buff, but it looks like it was at least successfully dropped by Rival.
Huge that CaptainTwig's able to escape, because SK Gaming's game plan is clearly to get Sam for Soccer into a position where he can be the carry so far. I mean, they've let him really free farm up until this point, and he's going to hit level 5 way before CaptainTwig. He's on a character that impacts these team fights as a solo player much more. Twig really there as the setup guy for these double ADCs. And I like Rival kind of falling into this identity of Twig doesn't need to do a whole lot of damage because we've got PandaCat and Arkkyl, two of the best hunter players to ever play in our team. We're playing double hunters. Let them do it. Let them do the damage. Let's just facilitate that. And I think that makes a lot of sense. When you've got two great perimeter shooters on your team, you need rebounders and you need passers, and you don't need that much else.
And that's the thing about CaptainTwig as well. I think he can be great in the facilitating, mode for this team. He's equally good switching over and doing carry work too. It's part of what I think makes Rival so strong, is that they don't necessarily get locked into one identity. I mean, we list PBM along with Neil and Aurora as one of the aggressive supports, but he's playing the Khepri here this time, not really worrying about doing that invade start this time around. Rival can play so many different ways, and it does make it difficult to prep for them as Neil's in some trouble. That's the blink of duck, a perfect ricochet from Arkkyl. That takes NeilMah down.
Perfect use of that abduct once more. Arkkyl finds a perfect spot to do the double bounce. NeilMah falling behind early has been a storyline for SK, not just in this game, but throughout the season. When you are aggressive early and that's your identity, you're going to put yourself in a position where you might fall behind early. There's always go risk-reward to that spot. The only thing that may have saved Neil in that position of his zap is close enough to immediately whirlpool under PolarBearMike, get the cripple, cancel out the abduct. But even then, with that double bounce, I think it's hard for him to survive.
And I do think that is one of the big differences between SK. We very rarely see Neil do anything else but this aggression. With Aurora, he's almost always aggressive, but he almost always makes it work out. And then with PBM, he's very comfortable switching styles as well. And I think that has been kind of one of those differentiators. There's a lot of them, but I do think that's one we're sort of honing in on is sometimes the difference in these supports.
I agree. I think that that's the next evolution of NeilMah's game, is the ability to play the more late-game supports. I mean, look, Neil's played games on Geb. He's played games on Khepri so far this phase. Maybe not Geb, but certainly Khepri. You know he's capable of it. It's
right.
just is that a strategy we're comfortable going to consistently or not?
And SK are a team that are comfortable going to the late game. That's why I am a bit surprised that Neil has spent so much time on all these aggressive picks, because SK, I think, are the fastest team to make the call to just let stuff go. They're very willing to just kind of fall back towards Phoenixes, fall back on their base defense, and trust in themselves in that scenario. As Zapman never really in much danger there, with Arkkyl not having the mark on him. It has seemed a bit of a disconnect from me. I mean, it does make some sense to kind of hedge your bets, like let Neil go aggressive early. If not, we feel comfortable in our late game defense, but maybe even just go a bit more all in on that.
I agree. I mean, you have a team that has a lot of veteran experience on it, and that certainly contributes to why they're willing to go to the later game so much. But maybe you should be drafting a little bit more for it. There's also the opposite end, which maybe SK is embracing, in that our Phoenix defense is so good that it doesn't matter if we have early game characters. We can still compete at that point in the game,
right,
and have the option to instantly win the game in the early stages.
We dice roll on Neil and then trust our fallback.
Right, exactly.
Certainly one that has worked for SK in some instances, but it just feels like they're always one step short of the consistent performances. It's like every single game they're one different step away from being able to take down these top teams, and that's why consistently throughout the year they're 7th place instead of maybe 5th or 4th, where sometimes it looks like they could easily be based on their performances. So there are some things certainly for SK to clean up, despite all the things that I think that team does well. And one thing that's looking good for them is Zapman on this Poseidon.
It's got a pretty good lead right now, top of the XP per minute charts, level 10, the only one in double digits so far. I think Poseidon is one of those picks that does very well in the long lane. Heard Zero's talking about it on the desk, that there's a great 1v1 character. Very much agree with him in that. Can bait out relics very easily without even needing to use the ultimate at times.
CaptainTwig in trouble, hit by the knockup from the Kraken, and trapped inside the whirlpool. Zapman, a great job teaming up there with Sam for Soccer to find a much-needed kill to get them onto the board.
And in the mid lane, NeilMah trades his ultimate for the beads of PandaCat. So a good sequence, not just on left, but in mid as well for SK. Wonder if PandaCat probably got jump stunned by NeilMah. Definitely want to be using Petrify where you can in that spot.
Interesting defender of Olympus here. Zapman still has beads, so he's not under a ton of duress there. So if all they're committing is defender of Olympus from Twig, gets him back onto the map, and they get beads as a result, okay, yeah, I'm signing off on that. Yeah,
yep, that's good use of that ultimate, I think, from Twig. Has to use Blink as well, but not super critical for that character. Take a look at what Paul's doing in the mid lane, by the way. No Transcendence. That's been the call for Anhur since he's really coming to the meta.
Yeah.
Blackthorn Hammer instead, so Paul much safer with this pickup. Also so much cheaper. Transcendence is expensive and takes a while to get rolling. If SK want to really start fighting right now, maybe this Blackthorn is a little bit better, but I don't love it. I think this might be a result of Neil playing such aggressive characters that he often can't turn and peel for him.
Sure.
Maybe he feels like he needs the extra HP.
And I think that it'll work. It's not even just that it's expensive, but like Charge Morningstar doesn't feel great to sit on, I felt like, as PBM gets jumped on by NeilMah, but NeilMah doesn't have a ton really of kill potential there in that moment, so he'll fall right back. I think I agree with this sort of Blackthorn Hammer style for SK Gaming. See if Paul can kind of be more scrappy, involved in the fights a little bit more, get some of these cooldowns off. The same as Transcendence, obviously, with CDR, but I think it'll work.
Certainly can. I don't know, man. Transcendence makes you hit so hard, though, and that's That's why you're picking Anhur, right? Is the ability to turn fights by yourself with your ultimate.
Yep.
You want to just half health or one-shot people with it at this point in the game. I understand how we may have gotten here for Paul, but I don't know if it's the right call.
And I don't even know how aggressive Rival are planning to be early. I'd have thought the team that was planning to be aggressive earlier on would be SK between the Anhur and the Fenrir. Maybe that's what Blackthorn does. You know, it does still give you a decent amount of power and like ability to fight, and they can look to be aggressive a little bit sooner. You're not waiting to stack the Transcendence, and it can be a bit slower sometimes. But yeah, I don't know. I would have expected SK to be doing the things that meant they'd want to be active a bit sooner than Rival.
I agree. This composition for SK doesn't transition great into the late game, but it's not terrible.
Sure.
It's not like it can't kill frontliners. I mean, Poseidon is a frontline murderer in the late game. Khepri complicates that. It's going to make it harder for an easy cracking onto CaptainTwig or fineokay with that Scarab's Blessing in tow, but you have enough damage in order to get the job done. The problem is someone's got to take care of PBM's Khepri if they want to try and Ragnarok fineokay or CaptainTwig and get these early kills.
It's just such a good team fight from Rival, man. I don't know where SK find the crack to get in, especially because fineokay can just sit on Zap.
Yeah, but I mean, Zapman, if I'm Zapman, I don't think I go Pythags there. I think I go Jade Emperors. Because how do you die if you have Jade Emperors, right?
Sure.
I mean, you're reducing their physical power, you're upping yours. We saw Vote go at last game up against Snoopy's set. It gives you so much tankiness, and you're not losing out on that much power. I mean, Twig's not killing you on the Athena by himself. PolarBearMike's not killing you. Anyone who's killing you is dealing physical damage. And I think SK should just be stacking FizzD basically across the board.
Agreed.
NeilMah's going Sovereignty. Love that call. Don't even mess with Thebes right now. Get that Sovereignty up for your carries as soon as possible.
I am also a bit surprised we're not seeing the Jade Emperors. Maybe it's just planned as later. Zap's not thinking he's fighting right this minute. So maybe he'll hold off a bit on that one. But, I mean, I agree. I think fineokay is probably Zapman's biggest problem in this game. He can kind of get back there and not care so much about the Whirlpool or those slows.
Right.
But that's about it, man. So if you're Zap, you're looking to get off as many Whirlpools as you can, I'd imagine, since Kraken's probably going to get devalued a good bit.
And I don't think that you can really fit it in the build anymore if you're Zapman, because you need Spirit, you need Magus, and you need Divine. So which one of those are you delaying in order to get this item?
Sure.
I don't think you really can. I think you needed to go in that Pythags P slot.
Leap in from Neil onto Arkkyl, but yet again, good job falling back there from Arkkyl. And I think that if you're Rival, this is the pace of the game that you're fine with. Let Arkkyl get farmed up on this Hou-Yi, let fineokay get farmed up on this Vamana, and then you're team fighting around some really sick tools. The Athena taunt, obviously, the Abduct from Khepri and the safety net of the Scarab's Blessing, the Suns and the Petrify from Medusa and from Hou-Yi. It's a ton of AoE team fighting abilities that just feel really good together.
I agree. I think their team fight is really, really strong. And you've got items that need a little bit more time to bake than what SK has gone for. The Transcendence for PandaCat instead of Paul's Blackthorn Hammer, Panda's already full stacked his Transcendence. Gauntlet of Thieves for PBM instead of the Sovereignty for NeilMah, Mike's almost already done with that Gauntlet of Thebes, so he's able to get that up and running very quickly and is now much more tanky effectively, though NeilMah may be more effectively tanky against the composition for Rival,
right?
Because he's able to stack that physical defense when that's the main thing he needs.
And here, you know, I was wondering if maybe the reason we don't see the Jade Emperors from Zap is because the Sovereignty, obviously the aura, would cover Zap some, and so that gives him some protection. Maybe he can feel more comfortable building. But I have to imagine Neil's going to be diving, right? Going in aggressively, so he won't be near this Poseidon. So, so I don't know. I find myself agreeing on wanting the Jade Emperors. I think I do.
I think it's a pretty big mistake, to be honest with you. It might not cost Zapman. I mean, maybe he'll need that extra little bit of damage that Pythags is going to provide. Pythags is a great item. You want it a lot on your team for sure. It's something that buffing your whole team is really, really strong. But, man, Jade Emperors is just really strong, man. We see one for Twig to try and jump on all these physicals. I mean, it's a 4 physical comp for SK. Snag it up, a little bit of health, physical protection, tiny bit of power. You're basically getting, I mean, it's 65 procs and you're reducing their power by 30? That's crazy.
Sam could be in trouble. fineokay not going to be getting knocked up here, but Sam has enough distance. he can keep right on moving on the Susano. But there's the two-man taunt from CaptainTwig. NeilMah ups down to the up chain, brings one back into the target, but there's the Petrify from PandaCat, and that's 2 kills now for Team Rival. They're going to keep pushing into the tower as well, and now Belair might be in a bit of trouble. No abduct there for PBM just yet, so the rest of the squad falls back. But hello, fineokay way in the back line.
Good interrupt by Zapman, needs to find the Kraken.
That's good.
Centers it up and gets the kill, but look at where fineokay pulled all of SK Gaming as far away from Gold Fury as possible. PandaCat a little bit too low, Belair healthy enough. Rival decide not to pull that objective.
I'm surprised.
So really good blink taunt from CaptainTwig, gets beads out from Paul, and then Paul doesn't turn around in time for the PandaCat Petrify, which is a little bit surprising because Paul was looking at PandaCat with the auto attacks. He was trying to find him just one auto prior. Might have gotten lost in all that team fight heck, you know, the chaos. The PandaCat was starting to fire off that ult.
I am a bit surprised, though, there was no Gold Fury call at the back end of that. Rival certainly had the information on where SK were towards the tail end of that call when Arkkyl and PandaCat were nearby, but maybe they don't feel comfortable yet. It's only really Arkkyl with the lifesteal. Maybe that's part of it, and they wanted to slow down on making that call. But in the end, they make the safe one. They do end up losing Pyromancer to the back end, so it doesn't end up being that bad of a trade for SK, especially when you factor in they did get that kill on the fineokay as well.
I mean, SK's winning at this point. Despite losing 2 kills in mid, the 1 kill on the fineokay certainly impactful, and Belair's able to stay on the map for so long that he gets all this extra farm. He's level 17 all of a sudden.
And Osiris feels good in his double hunter, man.
Yeah, he really does. I mean, poor PandaCat, he's got a huge Osiris that's going to be hunting him, especially with having no relics.
Yeah, no relics, no lifesteal either. As Arkkyl, stuck in the whirlpool, has to use the bead so they can cast the dive bomb. Drops the Sunbreaker, but he gets pulled right back in by the Ragnarok. But Zapman being really patient here on the Kraken as the Scarab's Blessing comes through. There's the Kraken, and NeilMah finally hunts down Arkkyl. That makes it 1-for-1. Sam for the Hoi.
Link from CaptainTwig, Zap doing what he can, but he's in a lot of trouble. fineokay here to secure it.
And there's the taunt from CaptainTwig as well. That pulls Paul back in. They've gotten 3, and they've only had to trade Arkkyl here so far. I'm sure they don't feel too bad about that one. Gold Fury still up. They got 4 members on this left-hand side, but CaptainTwig wants NeilMah's head, and this Athena jungle has enough damage to do it. See you later to the Fenrir.
Now Belair's still full HP and has ultimate. This is going to be problematic for Rival.
Look at all that health, man.
But Belair probably can't even go in and get involved too much because he's worth so much as a bounty. Might not want to die for this Fury.
He's being cautious, but doesn't have a ton of information. Gold Fury secured. Now Belair's been taunted back in, but he should be thinking about the retreat. And he certainly is. Rival turned this entire game basically on its head with that sequence.
Man, you heard so much about Zeros on the desk and talking about Anhur and how good he is in these 3v3s, how much kill pressure he provides. And Paul has less damage than PolarBearMike.
Yeah.
And he would have more with Transcendence, there's no doubt. Maybe he doesn't live quite as long, but I'm not even sure how much I'm buying that argument. Like, this composition from SK is designed to kill frontliners. That's what you pick Fenrir for. You don't pick Fenrir to kill backliners. Maybe early game you rely on Unchained and Brutalize to kill them for the most part, but in the mid to late game, Ragnarok is there to kill the tanks. So you need damage, and Blackthorn is just less damage. And now the Aussie afterwards, not a whole lot of damage. Titan's Bane's gonna help a bit. I just don't like this build from Paul at all.
Yeah, he's starting to prioritize pen here at this point and some lifesteal that he can get cheaply and effectively. But these sort of cost-effective items really do work so well because of the Transcendence, right? When you have this big power pool that you're kind of pulling from with all this pen and sort of these cost-effective items you can get. So I do find myself a bit agreeing here in terms of where this Anhur's effectiveness. And it's just showing up in the numbers. It's bearing out in the numbers. 2,000, not enough for your Anhur 20 minutes in. I mean, Anhur's way better late than he used to be, but that's not why you pick him. You pick him because he's a monster in the early to mid game.
I mean, the idea, I'm sure, for SK was, let's just pick up the Khepri and bring him straight to Paul.
Right.
And let him hit all 8 spears. That's 800 plus damage.
Feels good.
And we're gonna get the job done in that regard. And that hasn't happened once. Mike's 0-0 and 6, and now as a Pridwin, good luck killing that guy.
Now, I also might argue that I don't know that SK has had a good fight yet. You know, like a fight that's gone the way that they would have liked to in terms of its initiation and its setup. They got that pick on the fineokay, and didn't lose the Gold Fury in that fight, and then just now here around the Gold Fury they couldn't defend in left lane. This is much more like what they were looking for, but they're pulling it back towards Zapman, and he's not doing enough to PBM here. Paul being chased out by fineokay, and NeilMah shredded on the right-hand side. It's CaptainTwig with the taunt that sets that up.
Zap has to use the beats because Arkkyl's Ricochet found a home. And Belair has not been able to get involved in any of these fights. Every time he shows up, someone or everyone is pretty much already dead on the side of SK. Another execution error, I think, by SK Gaming. Zapman is control-oriented. He went Gem of Isolation, no E-Staff, no Soul Reaver, no Shaman's Ring. He's got a level lead on PBM, but Mike has so much health and so many protections from Gauntlet of Thebes that even with that level lead, Zapman was tickling him.
It wasn't doing very much damage to him at all, and like you said, if Paul was the one that we were looking for, he wasn't even there for that setup. He had fineokay hounding him in the middle lane. So I guess if we talk about what the strategy is from SK, right, which is hopefully to kill the tanks, why they have all this pen and all this setup, well, then they haven't brought him back to the one that's going to be doing it. And now Pyromancer going down for Team Rival. I am a bit confused, I would say, about what SK's game plan is at this point.
I think that the draft was solid. I mean, you've got two great backline divers in Osiris and Susano. We can let those guys 2v3 on the backline. They are good enough, mobile enough, do enough damage, have enough CC to where that's a viable strategy. And then NeilMah is going to Ragnarok someone into Paul and Zapman, and we're going to kill them. And that second part has not really worked quite yet. Now, maybe Belair and Sam can do enough work in these team fights to kind of make up for that. But now they've got two pretty stacked hunters to contest with.
This could potentially be a really big fight here now around this Fire Giant. 22 minutes in with the upgraded Frenzy and a Relic Dagger there for PolarBearMike. They'll be able to burn through this FG quite quickly, Ryan. So SK can't afford. This is right at the precipice, a 5,000 gold lead. If they let this Fire Giant go here, the game might start to get out of reach. NeilMah is trying to frontline, but they might be too late. Zapman is on his way in, but gets there too late. Rival secure the FG, and now fineokay starting to push in. They don't just want this FG, they want the fight on the backside.
Belair, Blink, abducted. Thorn's going to dissuade a little bit more aggression. Typhoon there to help. And SK do get all members out, but Rival just strong zone from fineokay. The damage dealer's not able to do a whole lot to help out from SK Gaming, and a Fire Giant with double Hunter and an upgraded Frenzy is certainly always on the table.
Yeah, that is not tough for this composition to do exactly that. And SK Gaming, I said before, they're a team that's quick to give things up. I'm not even so sure that they did give that one up the way that Zapman kind of moved in frantically towards the end. I think they would have liked to contest, but just weren't there for it. And now they do have to fall back towards that Phoenix defense. I'm just not so sure that it was by choice this time.
Not that much gold left on the map for Rival, but they don't need that much more, to be honest with you. I mean, 4K gold still on the map. They just got an Oni Fury. That's going to help. This is the
part of the game they're good at, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree. This is where the composition really starts flowing together for Rival. Your hunters are starting to swing. fineokay is tanky enough now, but still dealing relevant damage. You've got PolarBearMike at level 17. He's the same level as Paul.
Not bad.
Paul can't fight against that. That's just not going to happen. Maybe once he gets chin size, but that might have to be an executioner just to get even more pen.
Could certainly use it here at this point as Team Rival still have 2.5 minutes on this FG. Haven't really done much with it just yet. They went back and grabbed, I think it was the Oni Fury, so they'll be able to make a pretty nice push here this next time. They still have 2 tier 2 towers to go grab that'll add a little bit of extra gold. And I don't know that SK can afford to defend on those. It might be time to just fall all the way back to Phoenix's.
Surprised that Neil hasn't gone for a Prid win. I mean, it's so good on Fenrir. If you go in with full runes, you already are getting so many protections. When you activate that Ragnarok, you double your procs. So you end up then getting a massive shield, but Neil is just so far behind that he probably feels like he needs to end up getting some immediate protection value, not just when it comes to the ultimate.
Yes, first off, and horrific emblem as CaptainTwig goes in for the taunt. Neil takes a bit of damage. Phoenix down to about half HP. But most relics and ultimates still available. It's just the blink that's missing from Twig. They have so many different ways to initiate, though. They don't necessarily need it as Neil goes in for a stun. fineokay gets pushed back, but they've taunted Belair, and he's not tanky enough. PandaCat on a rampage, and they shred through the Osiris.
Neil can't even find a target. Finally gonna pick up NeilMah, or fineokay rather. But fineokay ready to go. Cleansed by PolarBearMike. Scarab's blessing.
They pull Zapman back out of the fountain, oh my goodness! And they burn him down as well. Another kill for Arkkyl, left side Phoenix down. And Rival might just be looking to end this game. They taunt in NeilMah, he's too weak. He falls as well. Titan at half HP. Team Rival are done with this game. They take the first one.
Easy, easy cruising victory for
Agreed.
Team Rival. You just need more out of Paul and NeilMah, I think, in that game. I mean, Sanford playing a mid to late game assassin in Susano. You can't expect him to do the majority of the early lifting. Zapman did pretty well in that game at staying safe and ready to fight, but Neil fell behind early. That start where he really doesn't get a whole lot of farm through the first 3 levels, where everyone else level 3, he's still level 1. It delays why you're picking the Fenrir, which is to hit level 5, pick up a tank, and get them killed. Your whole composition centers around Neil and Paul being level 5 at the same time and on the same target.
Right.
And I don't think that happened a single time all game.
I agree. I don't know that we ever had a fight that SK would have said that's the fight that we were looking for, and then it failed. They never even got to that point, I would say. Just look at this competition, never got to do what it was drafted to do. Hopefully the boys, though, can figure something out in between Game 1 and Game 2, because we'll be right back.
Skillshot, the official production partner of the SMITE Pro League.
Team Rival absolutely taking it. SK Gaming did not rise to the occasion. Tom Badger here breaking it down. Zero's going to help me out as well. And as we take a look at this one, honestly, I mean, we asked for Belair to kind of stand up, and Belair had some misplays and all, but really, I'm looking at the Anhur mid.
Yeah, I don't think you can blame Belair for this at all. I think just Anhur mid, as I mentioned before the game, you pick him because you get pressure in mid 3-on-3 because of his kill pressure, right? But I feel like they just got nothing done in this game. I feel like SK Rival was never at a threat of like losing a person or whatever. And as I said earlier as well, the Khepri, so hard to get picks because they want to do. They have the Fenrir Anhur, they want to Fenrir out someone into a kill, but you know they can never execute it. So
the thing was here for me with Team Rival, and I agree. Yeah, Belair, not the one in the crossfire for me right here. Paul just needs to do more. This guy is a star player, and he did not stand up for SK Gaming the way he kind of needed to. And this is really what all of these engagements look like. You just had this wraparound here from PandaCat, who has been playing lights out. The PolarBearMike goes in, sets up damage, and they just die.
yeah, it's just so easy. And like thing is, that's the first blood, right? But like that just starts the momentum for Rival to be able to do whatever they want, you know. And it gets to the point where the carries on SK just doesn't. They're not a threat to the enemy frontline. So I don't know. It just looks so simple this game.
Yeah, look, NeilMah delivers, does the job. NeilMah is the Fenrir, picks up a character, delivers them to the carries, and nothing happens. Here we get CaptainTwig turning things around. Again, NeilMah goes to the ultimate, grabs a player, and nothing happens. CaptainTwig shows up, puts Sam down, turns around, and then it's just not enough. The pick opposition for SK Gaming was supposed to kill often and kill early. It did neither of those things. So the question to ask Zeros is, what happened? How did Team Rival get in the way of SK Gaming effectively achieving their end goal?
I mean, as I said, like they just got the first bat, they got the momentum from that, and after that, I feel like SK just couldn't do anything. They have a pick composition. I feel like if you're gonna play this pick composition as SK are doing, like they have a great setup. They have Anhur out, they have Poseidon out for the Fenrir.
Yeah.
But I feel like you have to get rid of Gab and Khepri if you want to play a comp like that, because I feel like they just denies everything they want to do.
I completely agree. We saw very standard bans coming out, the Thor and some of the other standard bans. I think you've got to mix it up and identify that this is what we're looking for and get rid of the Khepri for two reasons. I mean, the Khepri ult comes through, sure, but also when you're playing these pick compositions, a lot of times it's like chicken, two cars driving at each other, the first one to make the move, and Khepri can abduct. And so you're looking at abduct versus Fenrir ult.
Yeah.
And if Khepri makes the first move, what do you do?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. As I said, I think they just have to get, if they want to play this comp where they want to pick with Fenrir, they either have to ban those passive supports that can save people, or they just need to try to, they have to watch first. If they're going to pick Khepri, then let's not play Fenrir, play something else. Or just ban it, so yeah.
Game number 2, picks and bans on the way. And as we approach the second game, that is a conversation overall. You said before, if you want to play this composition, we got to ban the Khepri, blah, 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 blah. Do they have to? Do you think that SK Gaming can win an all-out brawl fest, just traditionally speaking, versus Rival?
I think they can for sure. But it's just like, they can still play Defender and stuff, but they can't pick it that early, They either have to wait for the enemy, for Rival's support pick, or just, if they pick Khepri again, pick something else, pick some late game support as well. Or
sure.
Try to like have a strong mid game, late game, and win that way instead.
Be malleable, be flexible.
Yeah.
Able to change what's going on here. Standard bans so far, the Thoth guy, the Ullr run banned by Rival, SK Gaming, take away 2 of the stronger goddesses in the mage pool right now. Team Rival, they've got Set on the board they could probably ban if they're not going to choose it, but instead...
They removed the Fenrir. That's kind of weird in my opinion. They seem to have no problem with that last game, so...
Well, maybe it's because I think what Rival needed to do to beat the Fenrir choice is probably not what Rival wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe they want to move away from the Khepri.
Yeah.
We'll see if that's a choice. I love the Set ban.
Mm-hmm.
First pick, where did they go?
That's a good question. They might just go for the Khepri or Gab again, I think.
Yeah.
They played, I think PolarBearMike played so well on it. I think the Khepri with the blink as well. Like, he can initiate and he can also pass. Oh yeah, Amaterasu. I spoke about it earlier as well. I think she's really good now. I haven't seen her that much, but I respect that pick a lot.
The dash, basically she's got a couple of different changes here. The dash is a little bit smaller, and so you don't get caught trying to escape as much. You can definitely sneak your way through traffic a little bit more. And something that hasn't changed is the amount of damage that she brings. Build full tank and still hit for 1,000 with that ultimate.
Also, really strong early game now with her increased damage on her 2 after the buff as well. And you can flex her, so really good first pick is she can go support, she can go solo lane.
Yeah.
Jungle, I'm not sure, maybe.
I know you would.
Yeah.
Thor and Anhur here for SK Gaming. I like this choice. I think that Thor will be an answer to the global possibilities that Athena brings. And if you're SK Gaming and you don't want to play the Athena, you kind of have an idea that Rival are going to. You can answer that with that. And Anhur, I said this before with Zalia's selection, and although it did not work to fruition there, I think it will be different here. Just because you have a bad game 1 doesn't mean you should shy away from it in game 2.
No, I agree. Really strong early game for SK again. Anhur 4, as I said earlier, Anhur is kind of weird they went back to it after the early game they did. Gab with this. I mean, I guess 4 and Anhur has so much pressure, so now they have a late game support as well. So they can kind of help the Gab out in the early game. I really liked it from SK.
And it takes it away from the other side as well. The Fenrir is not here, but there's a couple of other options that SK can look for to do the same thing that they did. They picked the Gab, they banned the Khepri. That's everything the Coach Zero's asked for.
Right, the world champ coach, Also, Gab really good against Athena. You cleanse the taunt with your shield, so perfect.
Rival on the clock here. Thor on her Gab. What are you taking away from SK Gaming if you're Team Rival? The Chronos for 1.
Chronos, I think, yeah.
And are you taking away another carry for Zapman, or are you looking into the mage pool?
They might just take away the Poseidon. He did well on the Poseidon last game. They might just take away that. Like, that's a really good comp too, right? They have an Honor in mid, they have the mage, they get like a good synergy between physical and magical damage. So I think they might just look to take away the Poseidon.
Poseidon would be a nice ban, looking at the way Zapman piloted it in early game number 1. SK Gaming, take the throwback ban. PolarBearMike's Fafnir used to be something you were afraid of, not so much these days, but knowing that Rival have the extra power aura on Amaterasu, and knowing that Rival like to play double hunter.
Yeah.
It's a smart ban.
I think this might be PolarBearMike on the Amaterasu supporter, I have a feeling.
I agree.
I think they could have gone other ways, but with the Khepri Fafnir ban, I think this is definitely going to be a PBM on the Amaterasu.
Hellban. Gotta love that. That opens the door for the Poseidon replay one more time. Again, Zapman found some prowess in lane, and I remember seeing Zapman get a kill by speed, but I just go, why is Zapman, why are you at speed buff? But he's winning the game.
I mean, if there's a Vamana running through 2 towers in mid, like someone has to stop him, right? So it has to be Zapman at that point.
There it is, diving his own Phoenix. SK Gaming are 4 players strong now, waiting for Rival to finish their draft. Amy, Athena, and Hoyi. Can you do any god impressions, Zeros? That's an important thing for the desk.
I can, but I won't.
Can you? What's your best god impression, Zeros?
That's gonna have to be a secret for now, I think.
Yeah, maybe game number 3.
Might go on my practice later. We'll see.
Hebo.
Hebo.
We were talking about this character backstage, more specifically with Paul in mind. But Rival go Hebo Guan Yu. Very interesting. I mean, we know it's not Zeros. Or, excuse me, we know it's not Arkkyl playing the Hebo.
I mean, you never know, but yeah, probably not.
So is it mid lane Hebo for Team Rival?
Could be. Like, Twig has played it quite a bit in the jungle.
Right.
PandaCat used to play it like last split. He was like the main go Hebo guy, you know, in SPL pretty much. Even over Hebo.
Yeah.
I even called Paul Hebo now. So it could be Hebo mid. I don't love Hebo mid in this meta because his wave clear is kind of weak. And like, he's kind of easy to pick on, you know? But I mean, it could be the Hebo mid.
I think this is PandaCat. Listen, you know Panda, I know Panda. Sometimes Panda just wants to stun on somebody. And that's when the Hebo pick comes out in the middle lane. Yeah. This is Rival absolutely flexing some of their strong stuff. Is it a winning composition?
I think so. They just look like the better team the first game. And I think they're going to keep doing that this game. So I'll definitely bet everything on Rival here, for sure.
There were moments of brilliance for SK, and I think those moments of brilliance really came out of what Zapman was able to achieve. We'll see if the mid lane steps up. We'll see if the rest of the team steps up. Team Rival, SK Gaming, take it to the bridge.
Tom, you got the right idea. Someone on SK has got to step up here in game number 2. Finch and Aggro still Doug, bringing you everything that you see here on the screen. And SK Gaming, they put Paul back on this Anhur. They put Zapman back on this Poseidon. But Neil's on Geb this time. That does give them a nice late game bit of focus. And Sam can be the one now to try and carry them through that early game.
I like this comp a lot. I'm excited to see what Neil's going to do on a much more passive selection. I'm also interested in where he's going to start because it's been all very aggressive starts for him so far.
Right.
Surprised that PolarBearMike doesn't get the Amaterasu. I mean, that was his signature pick for a long time. So a little surprised. Excuse me that we don't see him on that one, but certainly has the Athena as a signature pick before that. He's very competent on both those gods.
Yeah, that's funny. There was a point at the beginning of Season 5 where we thought Amaterasu's movement aura on that bigger map was going to be huge, right? And being able to rotate around faster than anybody else. And then we didn't quite see it except for PBM. And now that Ama's back in vogue, it's not happening again. But he is going to go contest the speed buff, and so is Neil. Neil won't be able to strip it away, but PBM's the only one up there. And no, he's not going to go for speed. He's going to come join fineokay, and I doubt they'll have any information that he's here because of the pathing he took.
Blue is secured, and Belair's in trouble.
Belair certainly could be fineokay, going to keep up the chase, but instead they'll send PolarBearMike back up towards speed, and NeilMah is coming down towards the order side blue to strip that one away. So a very odd start where just about PolarBearMike's the only one at that speed.
Neil's still here, and despite the more passive selection, not playing any more passively, still didn't get the buff, but did get at least a small creep to get himself a little bit of XP. PolarBearMike left alone, able to take the speed and leaves a small. That's a good idea. Just delay the farm from Sam for Soccer even more.
And it does show that Rival are not trying to be there for that next speed buff invade, it would say to me. By clearing it out, they'd have that timer and be able to be there for it the next time they go in and spawns. This way they won't, as mid-Harpies should favor Rival here yet again. And I expect for them to probably start slowing it down on the Chaos side, aggression just in general on the back end of that. They're not nearly as, I would say, active as perhaps this SK draft.
It does help Sam for Soccer a good amount to be able to get that timer by clearing that last creep himself.
Agreed.
wouldn't have known exactly when it was up, when Rival would have had that information, but he always could have gotten a ward or just gotten to the point where he knew the timer, so they would have been close enough on that number to where I think what PBM did is certainly acceptable.
Sam looping around. That's aggression from Paul as well. Two-man hammer toss and a two-man taunt from PBM is not a bad response to bring Sam low. PBM dashing in is stunned out, being spun on as well, but NeilMah level 1 not gonna really pose any threat. The Team Rival make it back out, but I think they gave as good as they got.
Don't think anyone on Rival expected Sam to take so much damage. Sunder came out late for PolarBearMike as he has picked that up as upgraded Sunder first overall. This should be a warning sign to NeilMah that he is going to be a target.
Blinked in with the jump, and Paul had the read correct. PandaCat ends up falling, and SK Gaming on the board first this time. First blood for Paul.
I like where Mike stands in that. He wants to stay separate so that he doesn't get CC'd at the same time. Taunts both. Just about everything he can. PandaCat just a bit too close.
Paul had the beads ready for that exact position. His fineokay somehow amongst two is not only able to strip away the blue buff, but make out like a bandit as well. He should be safe. And Alma, remember, can rely on her stance change for a little bit of regen as well, so not too bad at all for fun.
I like the idea of this Hobwa pick in the mid lane for PandaCat. I mean, this is a pick that he absolutely loves. Make sure you turn into roll Q on Saturday. He talks a little bit about it. I did sit down with some mid laners, but it's really good in theory against the Anhur. I mean, so much of Anhur's control in mid comes from his ability to slow you from range. Hobwa doesn't worry about that. Atlas of the Yellow River takes care of it all.
CaptainTwig aggressive with a dash in, two-man knock-up from PandaCat. Taunt onto Neil, and a nice clean pickup there from CaptainTwig. Well played by Rival in the middle lane. But sort of like Zeros was alluding to in the desk, PandaCat played this Hobwa a lot at the beginning of the season. I think it helped his mid-transition a good bit to kind of have a nice staple that he could go to and still play aggressive.
Agreed, that it was huge for him. I don't love that pathing that kind of leads to that kill though for CaptainTwig. It really, it's Sam that kind of baits Neil into standing in the wrong spot on that fight. Either Neil has to not stand close and accept that Sam might just die, or he has to go in and try and do some body blocking, help out, and that's really what gets him killed. If Sam goes around the safe way, and SK just wait a minute to clear, then it's much safer.
PBM taunt onto Neil, stun there as well, because Arkkyl has made an early game rotation. I don't know if there's anyone that does that quite as often as Arkkyl does.
Yep.
He rotates over at really odd timings and catches out SK Game, not just SK Game, but just about everybody with those rotations.
Pretty sure Arkkyl backed, got his full boots, cleared one wave, and walked over. I mean, that is kind of what he does. He uses that instant movement speed boost where you don't expect him to be that fast early in the game to really catch people off guard. That plus the upgraded Sunder from PolarBearMike. Arkkyl being there was just the cherry on top.
It does cost him the beads, though, when he rotates back in. Zapman goes aggressive and hits the Kraken, trying to use that knock-up setup to guarantee the kill, but Arkkyl had the beads, they were going to back out. So he'll be a bit vulnerable. Sam, I don't think we've seen him use an Anvil of Dawn yet, so Arkkyl might be a decent target for him. No CC immunity anywhere else in the kit without those beads.
He's heading over to this left-hand side. Arkkyl has decent ward coverage on aggressive pathings in, but no wards that would actually cover the usual launching points for Anvil of Dawn, which is almost always inside that Gold Fury pit.
Exactly right. He could do it there and potentially catch them off guard. They'll even control the vision here to make sure that no one else has any prying eyes. And then, yes, Sam for Soccer is going to rotate over here to the left. Zapman, or rather Arkkyl, has to be particularly careful. I don't know if Sam can see him from here, so they might not know. But now Arkkyl is going to reveal himself contesting the buff, and that's an easy cleanup for SK.
Good patience from Sam for Soccer.
Right.
Waits long enough to make sure Arkkyl does hang himself out to dry.
PolarBearMike now trying to step up to defend the purple. It does have CaptainTwig in support.
Hello.
A three-man taunt's always good, but there's nowhere near the usual follow-up there without Arkkyl alive. Whirlpool into the Kraken, another easy kill, and Rival kind of walk into that one.
Couple bad mistakes, and Paul's able to get a buff invade off.
Yeah.
That is odd, but here comes PandaCat, has a good angle to try and kill Paul.
Should be able to catch out some of SK Gaming perhaps unawares. CaptainTwig goes right up onto the horse, and NeilMah's the target, but Sam is there to play clean up the wall, and the stun slow him down. The peel from Paul, all should be enough to turn this around, and now it's Twig that's suddenly isolated. PandaCat still with a chance to get in position for some low health targets, but I think SK Gaming played that one really clean.
That stun from Sam, right as it looked like PandaCat was rearing up for that ultimate, was getting ready to unleash the crushing wave. That stun from Sam really cut him off, not only with the stun, but with the geometry of the wall at the exact same time. Now SK can't get greedy here. You already got a lot. You want to defend red for sure, but it's not worth dying over.
It is just Arkkyl, so perhaps they can do something here, but instead they end up disengaging. That whole thing, though, I mean, I understand the kill that they get onto Arkkyl. That one's going to happen almost every time because he doesn't have beads in that spot and because he doesn't have the right spot warded for the Thor ultimate. But PBM dying there, that seemed unnecessary.
Agreed. And then the rotation in. I mean, CaptainTwig feels like it's going to be a better fight than it really is. Because PandaCat didn't go boots early on. He went with his Book of Thoth Rush. We see very little book these days because it is so much slower to ramp up. Your 3v3 is so important. You can't really afford to get run over early on. His inability to rotate quickly ends up costing.
He's trying to catch out Belair, but that was good usage there to avoid the last hit, the stun from fineokay that would have been the CC chain. It's actually huge. He avoids that. That would have been taunt back in, a ton of damage. So good work there from Belair.
If he tries to use Excalibur's Wrath aggressively to pick up fineokay, we see that a lot for King Arthur's getting out of ganks by taking someone up. That would have spelled certain death. I think that's the only way Belair lives is by that exact decision to go into the jungle with Excalibur's Wrath in that moment. Nicely done.
Arkkyl could again be in some trouble, but Sam's just here for some purple buff farm, so Arkkyl should be fine. Not just purple buff farm. Hello, let me try to strip all this jungle, but CaptainTwig has other thoughts, and now Sam might have bit off a bit more than he can chew. It cost him his beads now for the disengage, and he won't even get it. Arkkyl drops the Suns, and see you later to the Thor, son of Odin. Zapman in some trouble now as well. Arkkyl finds himself a double as SK Gaming walk in on the conveyor belt of doom, and NeilMah should fall here as well. Yeah, that's a nice triple.
Brutal, man. I was just about to talk about how SK, I liked it. They're kind of leaving Belair, telling him, hey man, sorry, but you're not getting any blues this game. We're going to camp Arkkyl, we're going to get Zapman ahead. And then you give him a triple by going for some backs that you probably shouldn't have. And Zapman walks in to try and help, and Neil walks in to try and help, and in the end, it just puts Rival way ahead, specifically in the one lane matchup that was going well for you if you're SK.
And it just does not take much to get Rival back into a game or ahead in a game. They really don't need much room from you because Rival are so good at creating their own openings. You don't need to be creating any extra ones for a team like this right now that's playing so well. Really, it only feels like looking up at Renegades.
I was like, fineokay is auto-attacking awfully fast. What does he have? Oh, it's the classic Berserker Shield Toxic Blade build.
I kind of like this, though, into King Arthur.
You don't need a whole lot of movement speed with Amaterasu because her one gives you 25%. And it's not just you, by the way.
Yeah.
It's everyone around you the whole time. I mean, you got to get it up to max rank, but we're already almost there for fineokay. You know how we kind of started this whole, like, how is Erlong Shen a thing, you know? I'm there with Amaterasu already, by the way.
Well, I know you don't like the ultimate.
You want to know why, Finch?
It's because of how much damage it does. I do know.
995 base damage.
It's quite a lot. Quite a lot of damage that she's able to do. That's if she hits all 3 hits at the same target, yes.
Which is not hard to do, by the way.
No, because it does also slow.
And it covers the whole lane.
NeilMah in some trouble, uses the Cataclysm there for the disengage, but the Kraken's good turnaround, and Sam for Soccer is now here as well. The spin is enough to take down PBM, and Arkkyl should pay for this one as well, but CaptainTwig is able to hunt down Zapman, and whoa, he's going back in. They've got PandaCat not too far away, but a good Geb shield from NeilMah slows that down.
Love that blink from NeilMah. He does it to disengage from where CaptainTwig is so that he can make sure that he can shield Paul in that instance. It's an odd kind of weird area to use your blink in that way, but I think really, really heads up from Neil. If he just splits to the left, that puts him still in harm's way. Maybe we see CaptainTwig just switch his target to NeilMah and set up PandaCat for an ultimate. Instead, he blinks away to create distance so that he can shield Paul and save him from that stun. Really, really good job.
I know you're on your Amaterasu here.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're mad about Amaterasu. I think it's just Smite. We just have a lot of base damage. We like to do damage here.
There are 2 main offenders right now.
Hercules.
It's Hercules and Amaterasu. How much damage do you think Herc Boulder does as soon as he hits level 5?
300.
300 plus 100% of his physical power. So it's
pretty
like
good.
350.
That's pretty good.
You know how much health I have when he hits level 5?
680.
Roughly, yeah. You know how much Driving Strike does? That's all of it, by the way. That's all the numbers.
That's everything that I have in terms of HP. And, he's taking care of all of that. A nice invade here from Team Rivals. They come up for speed, but they are not going to get out for free. Belair has found himself a fineokay. A good wall isolates him, so he responds with a dazzling offensive and a stun. But that's the dash now. Whirlpool comes out as well, but Sanford goes elsewhere and still gets the kill on fineokay. PandaCat falls as well. This time they're caught with their hands in the cookie jar.
5-man rotation from SK Gaming, and Sanford secured speed right there, by the way. Good answer from Arkkyl, though, to stay in lane, just get your tower, punish Zapman for making a big rotation over, but I think Zapman's happy with the result either way.
Pyromancer being looked at. PolarBearMike gets 2-man stun, and more than that, Belair's quite low. SK Gaming get the Pyromancer, but they end up losing some lives here on the back end. CaptainTwig takes down Sanford, is low, avoids that impale, but can't do enough juking, and now they're going to avoid this FG.
Arkyl's on the way. Don't think he walked over a ward until right there, but everyone else a little bit too far away. SK Gaming just doing a much better job of staying involved in this game. This build for Paul, despite still not being ideal in my mind, he's been so much more involved in the early game.
I think it's helped that Neil hasn't been nearly as far behind this time as PolarBearMike dashes in. That is the beach from Zapman too early this time, so he will be getting taunted back, and Arkyl's going to be here to grab this kill at the last moment with a nice shot. See you later to Zapman.
The cardinal sin against Athena, pre-beadsing a taunt. Never ever do it. It's
it's a trap.
The good Athena players will wait out that beads, especially when PolarBearMike has that much room to work with, man. I mean, he's got an open field, and he knows that you're dead one way or the other. He just wants to make sure that you're super dead in that spot. You got to make Athena use the taunt before you use the beads.
But you were talking about Paul having a better early game here this time, and I think that is a huge difference in this game here so far. And I think a lot of it is that Neil's not, way far behind on the Fenrir. But what's your read on what's helping Paul?
Well, he's rotated out. I mean, the 3v3 in mid has not happened in mid. It's been happening in duo,
right,
for the most part. We had one fight on the right-hand side of the map as well, but that's been the main focal point, is this long lane. And so that trio, both teams have very mobile trios, and that Athena has the global ultimate, Sam has a global ultimate on Thor, blinks for both CaptainTwig and NeilMah, both characters that can cover a lot of ground, rollout, and cavalry charge. So it's pretty similar 3v3s, but the big difference is that Paul went boots, whereas PandaCat went book, and so Paul was able to come over and affect these fights much earlier and get himself a lead.
That has helped. I think they also shifted the burden of carrying this early game from Neil to Sam, and I'd rather it on Sam.
Yep.
Neil's a real good support. I want him supporting, if I'm being honest. And so now Sanford on this Thor can do all that work for you, and he has so far. He's been active, bullying Arkkyl here on this left-hand side every opportunity that he gets, and I think it just kind of shifted the burden back to where it fits most for SK.
Zapman in trouble, no beads for him. Shield awfully early from NeilMah.
Good 2-man Cataclysm. Arkkyl drops the Suns, but gets gobbled up by the Kraken. Zapman falls first. Arkkyl with a double kill, and Sanford gets blown up with some help from CaptainTwig, and NeilMah should fall here. Ricochet off the mark, and Neil actually survives because of it, and now they've overcommitted. Here's the King Arthur Brigand Paul. A nice kill. That's
perfect, at least for SK getting something, and it's the best target to get if you want to stop a potential Gold Fury pull right after this team fight. fineokay needs to be careful here. It has ultimate. He might need it.
Does allow him to do the disengage. He'll return back towards mid and make his way back out of there. But this is that aggression we were just talking about. It was Rival that went up first, but SK Gaming had the rotation. Belair, of all people, was there on left-hand side to help out with that kill onto Arkkyl.
This is a good start, though, for Rival in response to the SK Gaming early game pressure coming from Paul. PandaCat has not been involved a whole lot yet this game, but he's been absorbing a couple kills, got a couple assists underneath his belt. He's farming up, trying to catch up, and that's all you can really ask. The Hobble is going to do more in the late game. It's the nature of the beast.
I think this is twice that Rivals come in with a more late game favored composition, so they're fine with this pace. And SK have the Gold Fury now, or Oni Fury rather, pulled, and all 5 members here on this side. Same for Team Rival. It's going to be a 5-on-5, 10-man fight here as SK don't seem to feel that comfortable pulling just yet. fineokay can back. He's got teleport. He'll be right back in this.
Still no boots for him. More movement speed in the form of Relic Dagger. Certainly faster than he would have been if he just had boots anyways with that Ama pass or Ama 1. It's an interesting build from fineokay, and I'm kind of here for it.
It's so funny. It was Assassins doing this for a while because of that Masamune tree or whatever, the blade tree. The katana tree had so much movement speed in it. But now we're seeing it here in that, I think, off-time, overlooked Toxic Blade, Relic Dagger, Wing Blade tree. There's still a lot of good stuff over there for some of these bruisers.
The Ancient Blade tree, all building off that one. I mean, it is really, really good for sure. And when you have so much movement speed built into the kit, why not utilize it? Between the Toxic Blade and the Relic Dagger, you've got 20% movement speed. Boots provide 18%, so you're up. And you've got a bunch of health that you didn't have before. And you don't need to worry about the power, because when you aren't in the movement speed stance, you're in the power stance, which contributes to your 150% scaling on your ultimate.
I thought you were going to talk about how you don't need that much power because there's so much base damage on the ultimate.
Well, you don't, but then you don't need to build that much power because you also get a whole bunch of it.
For free with your...
For free.
Yeah, with your first ability. It's not bad. Divine Presence. It's divine indeed if you are on the same side as this Amaterasu.
Good CDR at the build as well. I mean, fineokay going for the Berserker Shield. Maybe you can make the argument that if that's a Glad Shield, getting even closer to that 40% CDR, it's a little bit better. But with 20%, cooldowns are already very low as a whole, and you're upping that attack speed, which really helps the passive. I don't think you'd be too mad about that.
Belair's down 3 levels, and he is kind of teaching fineokay a thing or two here on the right-hand side, but fineokay is not really that concerned with it, able to take a bit of a back. But remember, a few moments ago, it was SK considering starting this Oni Fury, and that dance around, it's something about it they don't like, and they end up giving up on that Fury entirely and just backing off.
No real quick objective burn this game in comparison, at least, to what we had before. I mean, Ama is great at getting her team objectives because of that power aura, because of the passive. There's still an upgraded Frenzy. Mike uses it.
And in comes NeilMah, but Rival have already gotten the Oni Fury, and now Neil is offering himself up on a platter. Sam goes right to the back line to look for Arkkyl, gets out with the hammer nicely, but CaptainTwig takes to the horse, and Sam for Soccer's the target. That makes 2, plus the Fury for Rival.
That's making me eat my words on that objective, man. Did not take Rival long at all to get that thing burned down. The double hunter is not necessary this time around. 1 in the form of Arkkyl, and fineokay's Amaterasu do the job. And now the healing comes through from CaptainTwig. No anti-heal on SK Gaming except for Sam for Soccer, who's already dead.
Paul gets pulled in, has the bead, so he's okay, but I love this loop around. SK did not seem to have predicted it, and now the Defender of Olympus sets up for the dive. fineokay tanking. They're not going to get any picks off it, but they'll just take this Tier 1 tower by way of brute force.
With help from an Oni wave that's also going to keep pushing on these side lanes. Pyromancer, a foregone conclusion.
This is clinical.
At this point, Rival just grouping up a death ball roaming around the map.
And this is one of the biggest differences, I would say, between when we're watching Minor League on Tuesdays and SPL on Thursdays and Fridays, which is that you can't always predict what they're doing, but once you see it, there's this clear through line, this clear thought process that they took. It's just so clean where they go from this Fury, they get their picks, they kind of loop around the right side mid-harvest to take the tower. That lets them come back and grab the Pyromancer. They're doing it all around this Amaterasu aura from fineokay that he's been farming up all game.
And why wouldn't you play around this character? She does so much. She's never had a problem at this point in the game. It was the early game that was the struggle for her. Now, that she clears earlier better with the 2, and she doesn't get her dash body blocked nearly as much. Seems good to me.
It certainly does, and Rival making great use of it here so far. And we could talk all day about all the things Rival does well. They're top of the league for a reason. But if you're SK, what are the adjustments you have to make? I mean, we thought they did. The early game looked way better. Paul's 4-0-5. It's hard to ask him to do more, but clearly something has gone awry.
I mean, you got to help out Belair a little bit more in the early game. I mean, he's gotten single-digit blue buffs through 21 minutes, and it's not a high, it's not 8. It's closer to 3 or 4. He didn't get one through the first 10 minutes at all.
Frenzy is available and has now been popped, so that means Rival are committed to doing this objective. They do indeed secure it, and NeilMah is already down. Arkyl's in some trouble too, but Aegis buys him just enough time, gets the dive bomb off, and now Belair has overcommitted, and CaptainTwig all the while kept too busy on the backside. Double kill for Fine. They get the objective, and they're ready to push. They still have blinks.
Yeah, Paul's in trouble now. Good impale to keep PolarBearMike at bay, but don't worry, he's got 25% extra movement speed, courtesy of fineokay. CaptainTwig finds his 3rd in a row. And this build from Paul just doesn't let him do a whole lot of damage to CaptainTwig. Same for Zapman, this Gem of Isolation, you don't see it very often these days. I feel like you just need a little bit more oomph behind the abilities.
Yeah, that team fight was dirtier than old Tupperware in the fridge, man. Rival seemed to be able to get it done, and now they're just going to go for an end. The wall was nice from Sam to try and delay NeilMah with a 4-man Cataclysm into Shockwave, and in comes Sam for Soccer with the spin, but they take down Neil in the gap. Sam falls 2 for a deicide, and Rival 22 minutes on the clock. Take game 2, and this might just be a short day.
It looking like it. I mean, set 1, a clean sweep one way, and now Rival up 2-0 in 2 less than 25-minute games. I really think that SK need to do a better job of helping out Belair on that right side of the map.
Yeah,
I think
that's the right face.
Yeah, I think NeilMah's Geb did go much better, and I liked the idea of putting pressure onto Arkkyl, but maybe it's time to consider taking him off this Hou-Yi pick. He's looked so comfortable on it. I mean, the meta right now is so non-hunter-centric in the long lane, and so hunter-centric in mid, and when Rival's going to do the exact opposite, put a mage in mid and a hunter in long, and force you to play their game, they're going to be better at it than you, and I think that's really coming to fruition here.
Man, Rival just plays so cleanly to me. It's like there's this early game pressure that they seem to almost eschew here in this game. They're like, fine, you can have it, and we'll play around this mid game. Rival seem to do whatever it is that they want to do, and as sort of your point, you can't just let them play their own game. Game number 3, though, will be up after this break.
SteelSeries, the official peripheral provider of the SMITE Pro League.
An all-out assault of the base here coming out from Team Rival. They pick up their 2nd victory of the set, 2-0. And it was anything but sneaky, but you can turn around and be the opposite of Team Rival. I'm not calling you a loser. I'm calling you sneaky. Sneaky Chibi Medusa, 33% off this week only. Go ahead and grab it. It's an Underworld Odyssey skin for sure. And as I said, Rival, over the world. 2 games to none so far. Zeros, thank you for joining me today.
You're welcome.
Breaking this one down. What do we see there?
In the game or the Medusa skin?
Game number 2 was just a fight fest.
Rival obviously still looks like the better team. As soon as team fights break out, they look a lot better. But SK on the other hand, they did look a lot better in the early game. And Paul, especially on the Honor, kind of worried about that in the start. Because of the first game had almost no impact. This game gets the first blood, like beautiful play by him. Does a lot after that as well, but then things just go wrong after there.
I mean, he goes 4-1-5, transitions nicely into the mid-game, Paul. And frankly, I asked Paul to step up, and he did. The problem was that Team Rival did as well. Here's kind of what we were talking about. Those early game plays, NeilMah blinks, brief little reprieve from a taunt, but Paul finds the target and is able to kill PandaCat. He continued to play like that, but then this was an interesting shot. So Arkkyl comes over and shifts, but then pressure to SK Gaming winds up in the lane because of Zapman.
Yeah, that rotation was nice from Arkkyl, but after he comes back lane, he gets his beach forced by Poseidon, then he gets 4-dunked after and dies, and that's when SK started building, like when this play happened. After this, SK were in a really good spot there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they have kind of all the tools in their position. You see them with a slight lead, but then it's the Arkkyl show, baby. Yeah. Arkkyl drops down the ultimate to the left side, avoids Zapman. The whole team shows up. This winds up being a 3-piece for the carry.
Yeah.
And then Arkkyl turns it into a Gold Fury.
Yeah. This was when things started going wrong for SK, I think. Before this, they were in the lead, and Paul was looking really good on the Hebo was behind, Zapman was ahead, everything was going SK's way, but then they overcommit on the red buff, they get free for nothing, they get the Gold Fury rival, and then like it's just downhill from there.
Yeah, SK Gaming, this was kind of their last hurrah. Paul goes ahead and grabs a couple of kills there to kind of even things up, but then again, Arkkyl shows up, this winds up again, drops the sun, he gets hit a little bit by Zapman, but he just keeps going.
Yeah. Maybe you have to start banning the Hui against Arkkyl. I don't know. It's like out of control on this character, so.
That's the thing, though. Whenever you're playing against Kenny, Arkkyl, that is, I mean, it doesn't matter what hunter you give him. People have been saying, and it's funny because you look at Reddit, you look at every place people have Smite conversations, and there is a big conversation about Arkkyl being a problem for Rival because he doesn't play mages. But then you look at how much they win, and you look at what Kenny does, and I go, well, how do you complain about something that's not broken? So, I mean, in this situation, is it a problem that he only plays the hunters?
Absolutely not. I think Rival plays perfectly with him as a hunter in dual lane still. As I said, they can still play hunter in mid. They do the double physical hunter combos, and like, I think it fits Rival perfectly. And I think they adjusted their whole play style and draft style to be able to have Arkkyl still play the hunters in dual lane. So, I think they should keep doing what they're doing.
It's very funny to me that the entire so we overuse the term metagame, but metagame is truly what most of the people are playing. The meta right now is to put your mages in the carry role, that long lane, and have this be a crazy, weird matchup there. And the top team, the best team in the league, #1 team, doesn't do it. Yeah. I think that's wild.
Yeah, sure. But their playstyle is still very similar to the meta playstyle because there's a really fast comps, you know. You get a little lead. You get one pick, for example. You can go blow up a objective super fast with a double hunter. They didn't play double hunter this game, but it's just like, it is a meta. They still play meta comps, just like a little bit different.
That's the key there. Me, yourself. Picks advance here for game number 3. Team Rival still in the first selection share. That means SK get a chance to respond and have a counter pick perhaps, and that might bode well for them as they have not found a victory in this set just yet. Bans to be expected here. No Persephone. Rival going to ban away both the Thoth guy and the Ullr. Very standard stuff. Paul's Thoth, something to be feared, of course, but also the guy's just that damn good. Yeah. Isis as well.
It's hard for SK, I feel like, because like for Paul, for example, he played Anhur, he played really well last game, didn't work anyway. I don't think the drafting has been the main issue. The first game a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think they just, I don't know, they have to get it together in the mid game when teamfights start breaking out and like just play better, because like Rival just looks like the better team right now.
I agree there, man. Definitely just play better a little bit. And when it comes down to it, you know, where do you find, it's very easy to say that, easier said than done. I think the bans are on point. Rival noticed that Sam was a little too comfortable on that Thor, so they banned that away. I think that's a great look. Specifically with SK, and this is an open-ended question, which part do you want to see them play better? Where do you improve to stretch this to a 4-game series?
I mean, it's a rough question, right? Because like first game was Paul had almost no impact, but I think this second game, they had a good lead in the early game. Obviously, they overstayed a red buff that one time, which really bite them, but I also think Belair, like, I don't know that much about soul lane builds, but like he rushed boost before Gladshield and King Arthur, and it looked like he was really getting pressured in that lane. If he went more even in that lane early game while they were winning on the other side of the map as well, because Amy were solo invading blue buffs and stuff, so like if he had some more pressure in that lane, I think they could have had a better mid game maybe.
Yeah, a little bit more guidance there. Ullr and Athena selected. I like the Athena snatch away from Rival, by the way.
Yeah.
But I agree. I mean, in game number 1, 4 physical, Belair was building Pestilence.
Yeah.
Very odd build for Belair.
Yeah. He was against 4 physicals, I think, and like the only damage deal they had was like a Khepri Guardian and Athena jungle, and he went a magical defense fight. It was kind of weird to me, but Paul on Ullr. How about them apples?
Yeah, how about them apples for sure. That'll keep a doctor away and, well, anybody else. Ullr, okay. Paul's Ullr versus PandaCat's Anhur. I mean, I buy tickets to that 1v1.
You don't know if that's Panda on Anhur, though. That could very likely be Arkkyl as well. So
that's fair.
Well, yeah,
that's a big point.
But it will be an interesting matchup to see for sure.
Achilles here. We've seen NeilMah play the Achilles support. Belair can obviously take that into the short side. Athena a little bit flexible here. I'm not sure if I call Athena a Sam for soccer character. I think Sam tends to play a little bit more aggressively and shy away from the setup gods. But the Achilles is a god that a lot of people have walked away from. What's your take on Achilles here?
Obviously, they probably think it's Amaterasu solo again, and I think it did so well last game, so it probably should be. Maybe Achilles, I'm not sure about that. Maybe Achilles has a really good matchup into her, so maybe they want to punish more than they did last game. So, but yeah, I mean, Achilles is always a good god, right? You go blink on him, you blink on the carries, almost one-shot them, and then
ton of damage.
Yeah.
Ton of damage. Plus, of course,
execute
the
against Khepri. Yeah.
Versus Khepri is a great look. And SK Gaming, notice how vulnerable they are to the cripple, so the Ares ban has to come through. Love that choice.
Yeah.
The Guan Yu was just a little bit too powerful from Twig. We saw a number of team fights set up because of that choice there.
Yeah, he actually really popped off last game on Guan Yu. You have to give him credit for that.
That's something, Twig is untiltable. Twig can have an awkward game like number 1 and then come through and be the star player in game 2.
Sure. Really like this SK draft so far, by the way. This is like what I think is one of the strongest comps you can run right now. 1 magical ADC, 1 physical ADC.
Yeah.
And then like your comp is so fast, right? It's kind of hard to. I guess Ullr you can kill, but like Chronos so hard to kill. So you have like a really safe backline. Also like a lot, like you kill tanks fast, you kill objectives fast. I really like this. And there's the Panda on the Hebo again.
Yeah, Panda for the Hebo here one more time. It did not crush it last time around, but it didn't get crushed. And the way Achilles counters Khepri, I think Hebo just counters Chronos. You're going to rewind? Cool, I'll kill you in that rewind.
Yeah, the issue with that is though, like if it's Hebo mid, this Chronos going to have a huge level advantage on him. Chronos probably going to have a Pythag, maybe even an E-Staff. He's going to be super tanky, which kind of, you probably won't get one-shot by the lower level Hebo, but yeah, we'll see how it works out, I guess.
Chiron.
Wait. Oh, it's Hebo jungle, okay.
Yeah. It's going to be Hebo jungle for Twig. Chiron, which is one of my favorite forgotten characters. When people say, who do you want to see more of in the Pro League? It's almost always Chiron. The cleanse right here is beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. Chiron cleanse against Athena, taunts like big count, even against Chronos. Such good, it's probably going to be a Chiron ADC, I think.
I will tell you, though, I love the answer from SK. The Hun Batz right here. Chiron going to cleanse a couple of people if they're grouped up. Sure, Chiron in general is cleansing one person. Hun Batz is controlling multiple people, including the Chiron. So SK see what that ADC Chiron's going to be, and they answer back.
Yeah.
I love that choice.
Yeah.
Honestly, this could be the game SK wins.
Yeah, for sure. Like through history as well, Batz has always seemed like a strong pick against Khepri as well, because obviously you can keep him away from being able to ult anyone for so long, right? I really like that Humber's pick here.
This could be a great draft, like you said. The mix and match of the magical and the physical carry here coming out from Chronos and Ullr. Paul on Ullr is obscene, shouldn't be allowed. You've had to play against it.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
It is not fun. The boys on Rival have a tall task in front of them, but Amaterasu led the charge last time around. I'm expecting it again. fineokay, forever the innovator. No boots, no problem.
Yeah, oh yeah, the Toxic play last game, great pickup. But yeah, if Belair can... oh, sorry.
You're good. Zeros is excited.
Kept talking too much.
I'm excited. No such thing. Let's jump into the game.
I agree with Tom. I love hearing from Zeros. Can't talk too much, my man. Great job on the desk again. Now, a lot of good things here for SK. Sam's on Unbots, right? That's going to be great.
Good.
They're going to execute here for this Khepri, right? That's going to be sick.
You're right.
I'm
That's
super
nice.
excited about that, man. They've got Athena taunt. Chronos is huge right now.
What else they got, Finch?
Those are all really good things. Oh, but fineokay's back on Amaterasu.
Well, hey, that's okay. We could focus him and kill him.
Oh, but can we do that? Because Dazzling Offensive is CC immune and gives him, and he's going to be able to get away really fast.
Yeah, but he'll be in the front line with another tank. Like, the other tank can't save him. It's just another tank.
Oh, right, but it is a Khepri with the Scarab's Blessings.
Oh, man. Well, they're going to not have enough damage then.
You're right. Oh, you mean that Team Rival are going to not have enough damage?
Rival won't
No,
have
they have
enough
a
damage.
damage aura. No, sorry, they're going to be fine. Plus a Hopwa in the jungle and Arkkyl in the
They're CC light.
Are they?
No.
They've got a lot of good tools. I think SK did do a really good job here with this draft. I think they just got to make sure that when fineokay rotates back in, he's not as impactful as last game.
Yeah, I agree. fineokay, I don't think Rival lost a fight with fineokay, and by lost a fight, I mean we're ever in danger of losing a fight. They were one-sided affairs every single time. It's CaptainTwig. It's the exact same start he did game 1 rather, where he goes to long lane, helps invade purple, backs, and immediately buys Assassin's Blessing, and is going to come and do his speed. So all PolarBearMike does is keep the speed safe. And now, I mean, the adjustment, this is where not having a coach really hurts SK, because they don't have someone who watches in the booth the coaches get to watch the spectator client. They know what's happening. Sam nearly gets the right read going. He
Twig.
doesn't have him so close.
Twig comes back in because PolarBearMike. Okay. He is playing this one very cautiously. NeilMah's on the way to this one too. I don't know, Twig. You got to be real careful in this spot.
Sam doesn't have Blink though, so he's doing okay, I'm pretty sure. NeilMah does get that creep, but overall okay for CaptainTwig. What I was going to say is if a coach is in there, you can see the spectator. That start is very vulnerable to exactly what Sam did, which is where you come down and you time it so that when CaptainTwig is getting his speed, you can wrap underneath in between Tier 2 and Phoenix or in between Tier 1 and Tier 2, and you can kill him for free. He's going to be level 1. He's going to have, you know, boots 2, sure, but you'll be level 2 at that point. You can steal or kill very easily, and Sam nearly got there in time,
Right.
but just was half a second too late.
Rival managed to get away with one yet again as CaptainTwig walked the tightrope that time. Do you think Arkkyl knows everyone else is doing like the mage long lane thing? I wonder if there's a real chance that Arkyl's just like, nah, just Hunters is still the thing.
Yeah,
and just keeps
that's
doing it.
Exactly what he does. I mean, and he goes, we're first seed, aren't we? You know, we've been winning a lot anyways, right?
But I'm saying I don't even think he's picking Hunters over mages.
No.
I think he just might still think that's what should be going on.
I mean, for him, yeah. At some point, someone from Rival was like, hey, man, you want to play Thoth over there? And he's like,
Why would I do that?
no.
The red buff
What?
being invaded, though, successfully by SK Gaming. Blink in from Twig, answered by an Athena taunt, but he avoids the slow. Atlas of the Yellow River continues to be good.
Super good, man. So solid. Love that instant aggressiveness, though, from SK, regardless. You hear the blink sound. CaptainTwig tries to steal it. You know he doesn't have purification beads. Sam and Neil have to be all over Twig pre-level 12. Once he gets those beads, it's going to be much harder. Feel like he is a very vulnerable character at this point, especially pre-5, but even once he hits level 5, a Blink Fear No Evil should be able to catch him.
He's found another back timing, though, and has the boots completed. And really, it's not that far behind Sam in terms of experience. I mean, obviously, he is still some behind, about 60 or so, but not enough to where I feel like he's lost out for having to have backed a couple times now, to have gotten the Assassin's Blessing, to have gotten the boots upgraded. I think he's been able to find good windows.
The start works, I think. I think the start definitely works. I know everyone was, myself included, incredibly skeptical of Obey's start with the no blessing in the jungle and no blessing for the Guardian.
I think it is God-specific still.
I agree. It is definitely God-specific, but they were Obey was playing gods that it worked on. I mean, I think that Obey certainly did their homework. I agree that we may have been a little bit anxious to jump the gun and say it wasn't great. I don't think it's perfect. I don't think it's the best necessarily, but it is new. And by default, new things are harder to beat because you don't have experience against them yet. We'll see if it's too new to affect Worlds. I mean, by the time Worlds comes around, that's still a month from now.
Right.
And there might be enough meta development to kind of get past it. Or this could be the meta that defines Worlds. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we could certainly see it. I mean, if that boots rush becomes the thing and they do go to speed right away, then we'll likely see support stop being over there at speed as much. And if you don't want to be over there, where do you go? Is it back to solo? What do you play in that spot? Is it back to later game Guardians? There's a lot of knock-on effects that we could see materialize at World. We could see materialize and change by Worlds, as you said. There's a lot of, we still don't really know. This is, I think, truly our weirdest year we've ever had in competitive. It's so much is available to be played. There's so many different places to go. No one's doing the things they were doing even 2 months ago. It's been a truly open-ended year as PolarBearMike in trouble. Fear no evil there. And the Khepri still alive for now, but no way. He makes it out. He gets the root. It's not enough, though, from Twig. Somehow, they still get him.
But there is no way that SK should have needed to invest beads from Paul and Sam dying in order to get that job done. I mean, PandaCat, first of all, I don't know if they waited until training exercise was down on that wave, but there was no cleanse available. PandaCat doesn't get a chance to use it on him. And then the CC chain between Paul and Sam just isn't good. You have to use that stun towards the back end of Fear No Evil instead. All those little ticks of fear, that's what Fear No Evil is. It's a pulsating fear out from the center of the totem. That stacks diminishing returns. So that axe stun is going to last not as long, but you still need to use it on the back end of the ultimate in order to get maximum value out of it. They let PolarBearMike escape for just a little bit, and that cost them.
Ducked on Paul. Defender of Olympus is there, though, so he makes it out of that one A-okay. Wow, that aggression in the middle lane from SK. But that's what they've done now, I feel like, two games in a row, is this early game aggression. They haven't done enough towards broken rivals back to where they can best them in the late game, or even in the mid game, just yet. I don't know if that's going to be the same route they can take to try and grab the win here as Arkkyl looks to try and catch out Zapman. He still has the rewind, but he's waited so long that it's not going to be enough. Arkkyl gets the impale kill.
That is such a... You can tell how comfortable Arkkyl is on this guy. That's such an unintuitive way to play that 1v1, is to save impale as long as you can. And we may have ended up missing the initial impale that maybe started all that off. But impale is the most important cooldown in that, because it's guaranteed as soon as rewind starts, and it's the burst damage you need to finish in that time period. And so Arkkyl just playing it slow, waiting, and Zapman knows he's dead to impale, so he's hoping that he can juke it or something like that right before he starts to rewind and then get a solo kill. But Arkkyl stays at home. Of the mages that he doesn't play, Chronos is one of the few that he does, and so you know he's comfortable and understands that God's Windows.
Arkkyl plays it well there and finds a solo kill onto Zapman. That is a big deal. Now level 9. Zapman should be 8 here pretty soon, maybe even after this very next wave, and indeed he is. So it's not a full 2-level advantage, but about a level and a bit on top of that. Not bad at all here for Arkkyl so far, as fineokay is way in the enemy jungle. I don't know if SK recognize it, but he can't find the Pensa.
Has boots this time around, decides maybe he doesn't need the Toxic Blade quite as much, so may as well go for the boots. That's...
Maybe it's into King Arthur in particular. The anti-heal's really good, I imagine.
Yeah, where you, or something like, if you see Camazotz solo and you need that anti-heal in a matchup where you don't. I mean, it is impactful against Achilles, more so than I think a lot of people would think, but maybe not as core necessarily. I don't know, I'm interested to ask him about it.
Yeah, I do think Toxic Blade's good enough to someone like Ama, who does use her autos quite a bit and sticks in close. Maybe she can get consistent value out of it at all times. But I think that kind of using it against the sustain heavier solo laners, like if Tyr ends up being good, you all saw on patch notes, it might be Tyr season coming soon. We might see more of that Toxic Blade against him.
I'm pumped, dude.
No, I don't want more Tyr, dude. He's
You're
so
not?
good. No. There's
so
never been a
not
good Tyr
though.
on my team ever, and there's only ever good Tyrs on the enemy team.
Yeah. Yeah, you're definitely have to hold that. And you're going to get way more Tyrs on your team, too. That's the thing. Like, before, it was people who just, either randomly got him by playing a game or, decided they wanted to play Tyr and it doesn't go well.
Right.
Now it's going to be everyone who wants to play Tyr. Odds are not in your favor.
They sure are not. I weep, though. But I think you might be right that Tyr is pretty hype in SPL games. I think that's wonderful, right? And I certainly love seeing, varieties and the like bringing out some Tyr at this high level. So that I can at least look forward to that.
Can we actually check in and see what PandaCat is prioritizing on the leveling? I wonder if in a match, where your training exercise is so critical as a cleanse tool, if you bait yourself by leveling it to clear the wave, if that's really the right call. Maxing Masterful Shot, it got a massive buff recently in the fact that it used to be a 25% slow at all ranks, now scales up to 35%. That is a huge deal for this character.
Yeah.
Also got some base attack speed love. Chiron's legit, man. This is a top tier pick in mid lane in my mind.
Blink in from PBM into the abduct. NeilMah though respond to the two-man taunt into the Fear No Evil. Twig aggressively uses the crushing wave and gets rezzed. Nice play there by Rival to keep everybody standing despite them being the ones that started.
That was really nicely done. I mean, Rival, that looks like a set play, doesn't it? I mean, where they know exactly how that whole situation is going to play out. They juggle frontline aggro perfectly. PolarBearMike initiates. PandaCat ends up using that ultimate. Doesn't find a home with every shot, but still puts in relevant damage. And then PandaCat, or PolarBearMike, is so ready for CaptainTwig to go in with the ultimate. It seemed like they knew it was happening from a minute earlier.
And their 3v3 core really is on the same page a lot. I don't fineokay is there in the team house some, but not as much as some of those other guys. They spend a lot of time together, the three of them in particular, Twig, Panda, and PBM. And I think you can tell when they play sometimes that they're just kind of on the same level a lot of the times.
That's a huge part of the game, man. I mean, the ability to get along with your teammates outside of the game, spend time together, just kind of talking about the way that you think about the game, I think, is really underrated as well, and what you think is strong, and areas where you feel like your characters are power spiking and that kind of stuff. it's those little things that I think make a huge difference in good teams and great teams. There's the ability, you don't have to be best friends with everyone on your team. That's not a necessity.
It's like a working relationship, you know?
Yeah, you gotta have respect for one another, and you gotta enjoy talking to one another at some level.
I think so too, and Rival, one of those teams that I think has shown some of that synergy. And I've heard some rumblings, you know, about Space Station being the opposite. They don't spend much time together. I think they have a lot of issues to work on. I don't want to say it's all on they should just be in a house together, you know, and it would all resolve magically or anything like that. But I do wonder if maybe, you know, some of these top teams that do spend a little bit of extra time together, they develop some edge, you know, from that.
Yeah, I wouldn't go as far as to say a team like Space Station, I mean, the only team that didn't move here full time, that's the whole reason they're in 10th, but I'm also not comfortable saying that it had no bearing.
Right. I definitely don't think that would magically solve it all as Neil blinks over the wall with a two-man taunt. PandaCat responds by having to use those purification beads. And that's going to be critical, I think, is catching PandaCat off guard with the taunt. At the very least, you kind of want to make sure he's not cleansing that if it's a more obvious setup.
Agreed, and PandaCat just doesn't have enough information to know if he's supposed to be beadsing that or not. No wards on the right side jungle for Team Rival. That man going aggressive here. Arkkyl, no jump.
And the Aegis lets him immune the damage from Defender of Olympus, but not all this follow-up. Arkkyl really just couldn't have done much there except not be that far forward, and it cost him beads and Aegis, and he still dies.
Zapman did lose the Aegis for it, but very happy with that trade. He's going to get a tier 1 tower at the exact same time. NeilMah here to zone and make sure that no one is there. Creeps should deal the finishing blow. No. Ends up with just a slight sliver of HP. Not a ton of health left, but that is something that SK need to worry about.
They are going to start moving towards the Gold Fury, it looks, and they have started up. CaptainTwig nearby, PolarBearMike kind of close, PandaCat with a chance to loop around, but this is a trap, and CaptainTwig has found the cheese. He does manage to survive, though. Gets the Scarab's blessing from PolarBearMike, and now PandaCat is in his ultimate as well, and now he's a sitting duck, forced into the giddy up to start retreating, but they can just head right back towards Gold Fury. This is one of the better fights we've seen from SK.
SK seem very much in control now. They get the Gold Fury, first real lead they've had all day so far today. It's not even a good one. It's 700 gold, but it feels like that's the first time they've had any degree of momentum all day long. And
yeah,
I'm sure for morale's sake alone, that Gold Fury was worth a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to have to be because it only equates to about an 800 gold lead in game, and that ain't much. So hopefully it does equate to something a little bit more valuable outside of the game, because this is about the spot they've been in. In the other two games, they were behind early when they had an early game comp. At least this time they're even. But Rival has waited for the 5-man group up in every single game around fineokay, and that has not yet changed. As Pyromancer now being looked at, but SK Gaming are here. They just don't make it in time.
Rival is definitely going to be relying on fineokay this game. I mean, he is the team fight master on Amaterasu. I mean, this is what this character does, is team fights really, really well. That's why it was so popular in support for so long, is PandaCat just got exploded in mid. Not losing, using the beads on that double taunt in mid from NeilMah has paid off twice now in how much pressure it has earned for SK.
PandaCat takes his first spill of the match. And now SK is starting to have some pressure. Tier 1 tower and left falls down. Belair diving the Tier 1, but CaptainTwig still has the crushing wave available, but Belair can't reposition with the fatal strike. fineokay claims the head.
Arkkyl uses his ultimate to push back some members of SK.
They're still aggressive.
Looking for Paul. His red buff invaded. Paul knows he's in some trouble. PBM uses his ult for movement speed.
And perhaps to cleanse. I don't know if the axe was there, but it's not going to work that way anyway, as Defender of Olympus comes out from NeilMah, taunt to fineokay, but CaptainTwig gets Paul either way, but it does cost them the Amaterasu this time. That CC chain with the Fear No Evil a little bit too strong.
Okay, it's starting to work for SK. I mean,
I'm on board.
They're alive and kicking. There's a pulse in the SK booth right now.
That fight was good here for Team Rival. I do want to have you kind of break, because it was all over the place and a bit scattered. How does SK, I guess, find a way to kind of make that one work for them?
I mean, the pincer maneuver, SK is playing aggressively on the left side of the map with both Neil and Zapman, going for purple buff, trying to force Arkkyl off of it, using their pressure they got earlier to knock down that Tier 1 tower. And the rest of Rival, and by the rest, I mean really just PBM and fineokay are hunting Paul in the mid lane on his rotation, trying to cut him off. But Paul does a good job of staying alive as long as he can, baits out multiple ultimates, and is able to at least pull the rest of Rival's front line into a spot where SK can actually finish off that sandwich.
And I think that SK can still feel good. This is also perhaps the least early game skewed draft they had. The Chronos, Athena, Fear No Evil from Batz. That's all going to feel great late game. Ullr can struggle some late, but he'll still be doing at least relevant Hunter things. So SK have a legitimate claim, I think, towards this mid game that we're now approaching. But CaptainTwig on this Cursed Orb, he's holding on to it, not yet finishing it off on the Doom Orb.
I like it a lot. I mean, it's a cheap tier 2 item. It provides really good stats. CaptainTwig feeds right away. That was a sick hail of arrows over the wall for Paul. Did not take him long to line that
They're
up.
all here. What's all of this? There's 5 members of SK starting to push into Team Rival's jungle. They're now on the disengage path, though, as PandaCat goes right into the Centaurus. That's a perfect response. Arkkyl gets Zapman first. NeilMah's low, but he's way on the right-hand side, and fineokay in prime position to keep wrapping around. There's some extra movement speed for the lad, so he can keep up the chase.
fineokay just goes high instead of going low. Paul dead to rights. Sam for Soccer has to use the beads, and he's still probably not feeling super comfortable. Just way too overextended from SK Gaming. All these fights that have gone well for them, they've abused relics being down. And that last team fight started with every relic being up, and it just didn't seem close.
This is what feels like the difference, though, isn't it? Rival gets so much more off the back of the few fights that they win. Tier 1 in mid, Tier 2 in left should belong to them as well. And PandaCat even able to keep Sam for Soccer zoned away. They just find the timings. That was SK aggressing into their jungle down by border side red.
And they got a Tier 1 in mid, a Tier 1 and a Tier 2 in duo. That is tough, man. That is a huge swing.
Yeah.
And it's not like it took them too long where they can't be back in time to defend this Fury. They should be here in plenty of time to have the advantage, but it's got to be centered around these relics again. CaptainTwig has to be careful. You know that NeilMah, Sam for Soccer, Paul are going to be looking for him in particular. This SK draft is excellent at abusing those backliners that don't have their relics.
They have so much CC, and that's what Rival has to be mindful of, as you just alluded to. Fury has now respawned, and SK Gaming are more on the right side here than the left. At least that's where Belair and NeilMah were. Now they're rotating on over. They've got some recognition they have to be here to defend this Primal Fury this time. And Arkkyl, the furthest one forward, he'll have to back up a bit.
Still has his relics and is level 18, so probably not feeling too bad. NeilMah has an upgraded Frenzy. Both his and PolarBearMike's will be up very, very soon.
And very little has worked for SK. You have to remember that I think that could potentially be weighing on them. They're down 2-0. They've maybe had 1 or 2 good team fights across the entire set. And this is so important. At this point where it's only 2 to 3K gold, this is not backbreaking for SK, but if they lose 2 members and Primal, then lose Pyromancer or even the Fire Giant with this upgraded Frenzy, this game might be over yet again. This fight here is critical.
And fineokay here. They haven't lost a team fight with fineokay yet.
I find myself agreeing. There's the abduct. They've made NeilMah the target, and he falls early. Sam for Soccer low 2, even with the Fear No Evil there. They at the very least get the execute of PolarBearMike, but Twig way in the backline finds a kill. That's the rewind for Zapman, but it takes him way to the back because another double comes out for Twig. They lose Paul. They might lose Zapman here as well, as fineokay hunting him down. Beads to try and cleanse the slow, but I don't see a world where Zapman makes it out.
That's the Zapman relics I know. No way he lives.
No.
fineokay just way too quick, even to catch a Chronos. Nearly a full deicide. Belair the only one who escapes. Rival's initiations are just so clean. They work so well as a unit, man.
Yeah.
It's so difficult. And they juggle frontline aggro better than almost any team in the league. Something that Dignitas does really well when they're on point. Something that Rivals really learn to do well.
Belair can maybe try and steal this one, but now it's just going to cost him his life at this point. He even back a little bit there, knowing that he was dead to rights after trying for that steal. But you're right, man. They play so good as a unit. With Dignitas, it's their dive, especially between Variety, Trix, and Cubo Fred. But with Rival, it's everyone. It feels like the way that they were able to balance between the front line where your initiation's going to be and then their own backline dive too. It's so difficult to stop sometimes.
First it's PBM, then fineokay comes and grabs your attention, then Twig with a beautiful opportunistic blink at the exact same time. I think it's absolutely great.
NeilMah has to use Defender of Olympus just to not die here. It gets him right on out. And then you add into all that great initiation that PandaCat rarely misses, rarely missed positions. You would forgive yourself for thinking he's been in mid lane for 3 years, not 1 at this point, man, with how well he's able to pick his spots too. Rival are just well and truly a top team right now, and it takes the likes of Renegades and Splice, I feel like, to even make them look more.
I really like the idea of this composition as well from Rival. I mean, you have your magical damage by way of CaptainTwig's Habois, but your hunters that you're playing in mid and in duo both have mage-esque ultimates in the sense that you don't need to be up close and personal. They can go through walls, they can pierce and hit multiple people. All of that contributes.
This tier 2 tower dive could be a nice defense from SK, but Sam ends up falling. Belair impaled for an Arkkyl double kill, and he leaps into action. He wants more. Zapman fast enough to be able to reposition, but CaptainTwig has Arkkyl, or one more zoned out. It's Paul on the right-hand side. They can now threaten this mid Phoenix quite easily. That should come tumbling down as well, and Rival, when they get ahead of steam, it's so hard to stop them.
Now they're unstoppable at this point. fineokay, nearly full ability, fully stacked Hide of the Urchin. Good luck chewing through that.
Left side Phoenix should fall here as well. Zapman knocked up, crushing wave. That's a good rewind, gonna mean a lot of damage, but he's right there where all the problems were in the first place. Silenced and put into the grave. PBM gets 1 on the board for himself here as well. And now Titan being threatened. I don't think a game has gone beyond 25 minutes in this set yet, and Rival won't let this one do it either. Arkkyl gets 1 more just for the scoreboard as they take the set 3-0.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is what a #1 seed looks like.
Yep.
I mean, that was clinical, it was calculated, it was never in doubt for Team Rival. Taking care of business, securing their top seed going into the SMITE World Championship.
You're exactly right. The best of the best when get it done like this. We always say going into matches where you're favored, they need to win this one clean. And that might seem vague, or what do we mean by that? A win's a win. No, this is what winning one clean looks like. Where they, like you said, it was never really in any doubt. There were no throws, no question marks, just really, really good teamwork.
What, 23 weeks of play overall throughout the year? Their record carries over from Phase 1. Rival has been the best team in the regular season. I think mid-season still looms over their heads a little bit. How well will they perform at the SMITE World Championships? I think those are fair questions to ask, but I don't think there's any doubt about this team's potential. If you aren't considering Rival as a top 2 or 3 team to win the SMITE World Championship, then I don't think you've been paying attention.
I find myself right there agreeing with you. Rival in the thick of it with the very best that we have here to offer right now. It's always such a joy to get to watch them play. We're going to start breaking this down here in a little bit, though. It'll be a quick break and the interview after that.
The SMITE Pro League is brought to you by Titan Forge Games, the developers of SMITE.
Rival unrivaled. SK Gaming have some moments, can't bring home the wins, 3-0. And the Purple Hoods take it. And from heroes to zeros. I've got my co-caster here. How you doing? Today good?
I'm doing pretty good. Went all right, I think. But then again, I think Rival just looked like the better team for this whole set. The second and third game, I feel like SK were kind of in it for the early game a little bit. But as soon as I feel like hit the 50-minute mark, gets into the mid-game, you can just tell that Rival is just a more experienced team when it comes to team fighting and all that. So
absolutely. I mean, game number 1 was interesting. I think we can blame it on picks and bans,
Yep.
maybe a little bit of an oversight there on the Khepri. But SK Gaming, game number 2 and 3 kind of brought it together. Early game, mid game. Of course, Rival kind of bring it towards the late game. This is what we got a chance to see. And this is, I mean, as classic can be. Arkkyl just bringing on the big stuff.
Kenny Rusbog on the Anhur. What do you do against that?
What do you do? Exactly. I mean, yeah, I have the ult for the extra life, Zapman says, and Kenny just says no. Here, CaptainTwig shows up and kind of does his rendition of it all. Nice avoidance of the Sam for soccer ult. He gets a kill, walks away, but then it's Arkkyl all over again. 17 minutes. Look at this. It's a tie game. And this is where Kenny, level 16, Arkkyl is able to make his name known just right down the middle.
Yeah. It's just like, as I said, like 15 minutes between 15 to 20 minute mark. It's just like, I feel like Rival just takes over and like they decide when they want to fight and they just win every fight they take. So it's just simple as that.
It's a decision that they make for sure. I mean, right here, the decision to get off and just go for the peel. Fineokay on the Amaterasu again. Innovation. No boots, no problem. He's able to come out, new build, and just do it, new character. And that's really what impresses me about it, is that Amaterasu has been around, one little tweak to the kit, and Fino goes, yeah, this week I can bring her out, no problem. Yeah. Here I am, not just playing well, but you know, bringing home the game.
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier about Amaterasu. I think she's a really strong pick now. I didn't know how strong she is, but I think Fineokay has proved to us that she's definitely a top pick.
I mean, that's what he does, right? Great stuff there. You know, you had actually said something about the mid to late game kind of crumbling. I think we have a couple of clips here to kind of illustrate that, where SK, the early game works out for them. They build their composition kind of to work in that direction, but then it all kind of flounders around some of those team fights.
Yeah, for sure. I think SK kind of gave it to Rival in a way as well, because I feel like the fights they were losing after 50 minutes, they were kind of starting to overextend a bit. They would usually take a fight at enemy red buff, and it would go really bad, where they would not get a single kill, and they would like lose 3 members into gold fear. And after that, I felt like they're at a deposit now, and Rival just plays the map perfectly, and like it's an easy win.
Now let's take a look right here. The decision-making kind of crumbles. This is game number 2 here for SK, where they start this fight. And again, Rival just kind of trumps everybody here.
Yeah, you see, like, this is a SK kind of overextended, right? They think they can pick Arkkyl, but he has his beats up for the Kraken. So it's just like he avoids the damage, and then they're way out of position, and the rotation's coming for Rival, and there's just nothing they can do, right? And then, from here on, the game is just in Rival's favor. And
then same thing with game number 2. Guess what? We're riding along with Arkkyl again.
At the red buff again.
Yeah, SK go too far.
Yeah. It's just, as I said, it was just the story of this set, I felt like. In the second and first game, we should probably not talk about that.
Yeah.
But second and third game, kind of the same story, so.
Yeah, right here. Again, look at the clock here. This is 17 minutes in, 10 minutes after what we saw game number 2. But again, it's really early mid-game. SK can hang. So if SK want to transition into the later stages of the season and start improving, especially as we look towards the placement stages, that's what they've got to focus on, I think, is that late game. You know, Belair, ups and downs, we can talk about all that. Late game's got to change. Rival have the late game and then some. They took late game 3 times, 3 up and 3 down. We talk to them right about now.
Thanks, Tom. I got PandaCat and fineokay here. First off, fellas, congrats on the win. This one was really clean here for both of you. Fine, I want to talk to you, Ben, about some of your solo play. It feels like once you start rotating over to the team, like the 16-minute mark, especially on Ama, things really just start to come together for this team. Is it just your presence? Is it the pick? Talk to me a little bit about, I guess, that group up stage.
I think the solo rotations are like one of the biggest like parts of the game right now, and like traditionally speaking, with like Mike, even CaptainTwig, they've always played with like good solo laners, and they've always played around their solo lane really well. They know like how to force the advantage when the solo laner has the pressure and the ability to rotate. So when I'm playing God like Ama and I'm just like super quick, I can tell them, all I have to say is, all right, just play off of my rotation, and they know exactly what to do. So whether I'm Ama, who's a really good god at doing it, but you know, Vamana or who else it is, just waiting for me to rotate is like gonna win us the fight, I think, most of the time.
Panda, against a team like SK, you know you're going to get pressured in mid. That's what they've been doing all year long, especially with these, you know, Fenrir picks for NeilMah. Do you prepare any differently or change the god pool a little bit when you're going up against a team like SK?
The god pool, certainly, because a lot of gods are just eliminated out of the equation if you're just getting ran at by hunters and like Fenrirs and stuff like that. But the gameplay is still the same. I mean, you just kind of farm. You can match pressure if you want. I don't find it necessary. Like game 1, we kind of match pressure, but game 2 and 3, we still won, even though they had pressure. But yeah, the god pool's changed, but the gameplay is not. It's the same thing. We kind of just let Alec get big and then chill, let him rotate, and then we just stall everywhere else.
And it feels like, especially your 3v3, PandaCat, it feels like you communicate so well during the fights. Your synergy's right there. You guys are always on the same page. Just talk to you a little bit, I guess, about you 3 in particular and how well you guys work together.
I think Ben, Mike, and I work particularly well together because, like, we're not afraid to call things. We're not afraid to call things off. So there's never like a hesitation. Like there's not like, oh, can we do this? Can we do that? It's like do it or don't do it. So a lot of our fights are pretty fluid, and if anything goes wrong, we know what happens. So I think we just get along well, and like we just think the same way. So like for instance, if we see somebody 20% HP or like he's backing, we don't need to think about what we do. We just do it right away, and then we comment as we're doing it. So I think we just work well together.
Fine, I got to ask about the no boots build game 2 on the Amaterasu, the Toxic Blade. Talk to me about why you think that's a viable build on Ama in that game.
It's just about controlling the healing, as one would say. No, I mean, you got the Toxic Blade to control the Arthur's healing. Like, not joking about that. Like, seriously, that's what happens. Yeah. And then it's like, well, I don't really want to go boots. And then if my next defense item is going to be awkward, it's not a really good spike. So I just figured, hey, we'll just skip boots. Like, who even wants those anyway? Like, I might as well be like cosplay Rat and just not go him. So
no boots.
Plus, like, I was gonna go Sunder, but I think Mike already went Sunder, and I was like, 2 Sunders might be cool. But I didn't do it, and I was just like, we probably need a sprint to win this game. So I don't know. I think you guys can mess around with it at home, see if you like it.
All right. I mean, you didn't have enough movement speed between the Ama pass or Ama 1 and your 20%. You needed the sprint as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Makes sense to me. Real quick before we let you guys go, I think a lot of the talking point around your team has been Arkkyl's play at times where it was inconsistent for a little bit. He's been on a huge hot streak as of late. Has that really elevated your team to the next level, you think?
I mean, yeah, Kenny, like, he just pops off randomly, and he's a very silent player, as in, like, when he kills people, he doesn't say anything. Like, when he's soloing people, he doesn't say anything. So it's like, you know, sometimes you're just farming your midwave, and it's like an enemy has been slain. And you look over, and he's just, like, a little smirk on his face, and it's like, oh, nice job, Kenny. Like, okay. So, I mean, it's super cool that, like, he just does his own thing and, like, just pops off when he needs to. So, yeah, I think he's a big part of our team in terms of consistency.
He sold Zap there at the end, right?
Yeah.
Z got
no chance.
soloed.
He didn't stand a chance, honestly.
It's also like an identity thing. Like, I think we've all decided as a team, we've really come together and are starting to really prepare for Worlds and understand like how we want to play the game and what we want to do with our strengths. Mm-hmm. And I think the way you play with Kenny is just let him loose, get him loose.
Yeah.
Let the beast loose. He's certainly been making it work for you guys. Your first seed for the SPL Team Rival. Congratulations, guys. We'll see you at Worlds.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, I'll be honest, Zeros. I think I root for any team that Panda and Fana are on.
Sure. I mean, whatever you say, man.
Those guys just make it real fun to watch. Great games today. We got a chance to see your old squad, and then, of course, we got a chance to see Team Rival, who maintain their position top of the crop. They ain't going nowhere, baby. That'll be 13 up for them. Pittsburgh Knights, Renegades, E United, Dignitas in that order. Splice and SK have yet to solidify that 6th spot. Of course, the top 5 will go to Hi-Res Expo on the express train. Tomorrow, Friday, thank God I'm Frazier. Rival play one more time, and it's Illuminosity Gaming that they're going head-to-head against. We'll see how that one fares. That'll be at 1 p.m. That's a big note. That is not a typo. It is at 1 p.m. We only have one game, so we started at 1. When you have 2 games, we start at 2. That's a lie. But tomorrow, it's at 1 p.m. You don't want to miss it. You should watch it. Zeros, your first day on the regular season desk. How'd you feel?
Pretty good, I think.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, that's about it.
Not bad. You had something to say about the interview, actually. You like fineokay's mustache?
Oh yeah.
As the resident mustache man?
That's a good-looking mustache.
Yeah?
I like it a lot.
Give it a letter grade.
A what?
Like A, B, C, D. Give it a letter grade.
What is good and what is bad?
A plus?
A is good. And yeah,
A is good?
A, yeah.
There you go. It's an A-plus mustache right here. Fantastic stuff. Of course, all these players rooting to get to HRX. That's highresexpo.com. They have to play through all sorts of opposition. All you have to do is buy a ticket. highresexpo.com grabs you your position right up in there, and you can come join me and everybody else. Zeros, how you doing? Are you going to be here tomorrow, you think?
I think so, yeah. I'll be here tomorrow.
All right. Well, then it sounds good. Zeros, thank you so much. Everybody else behind the scenes, we appreciate you. We will catch you tomorrow. Peace and much love to you.
conquer the night. If I can make it, if I try to draw the red light, I could run through the fire. I could conquer the night. If I can make it, if I